like this is something like one of the conspiracy rabbit holes. Like I keep trying to go down, but I can't find anything good for it. So like Antarctica, what the fuck is going on down there? And why, so like there are military bases down there. Like lots of countries have military bases down there. And if you show up in Antarctica, they will kill you. They will shoot you in the head. They'll like, as you're like, if you just take a boat to Antarctica, get off and start walking around, they will kill you. Like, I did not know about this. Yeah. I didn't know about this at all. And I was what the fuck? What's going on?
Is that, first of all, did you get that from a good source? I didn't know that. Is that true?
Yeah, it came to me in a dream.
He's got my vote.
Now I know.
That'd be the worst source I can imagine.
There's this is like not like I saw some like the conspiratorial part is like, oh, there's something under the ice out there, and there's like an underground civilization or the remains of Atlantis, that kind of thing or whatever. Maybe not Atlantis. Maybe I'm making that up. But like the part that's not really debated is like, yeah, you cannot go to Antarctica. Like you can't go there. They'll shoot you.
Yeah. So I've heard of people. I don't know if it's immediately they just execute you. From what I've heard, they're like, leave. Get off, because you can't privately make your way to Antarctica, because there's some weird treaty with Antarctica. It's called I forget the word for it. Essentially, no nation can place ownership over it, or like
it's all scientific research.
Place a fact. Yeah, it's all scientific research,
which
is the reason
law
that they
but that implies there's no law there technically. So I think they're going to have a hard time arresting me under any real powers. Maybe maritime law. Does maritime?
I don't think it's illegal. I think it's a very gray area. They're just like, get out, essentially.
They consider me a pirate if I like grabbed my my retarded Malamute and started sledding deep into the Antarctic center.
You wouldn't be sledding deep.
Look, he's a big boy, goddammit.
He is strong. He has the power of 3 normal dogs.
He has 3 dog power.
No loud noises, though.
So the conspiracy around Antarctica begins with World War II. There was a German research base in Antarctica called Camp something rather, I forget, but some number designation. Anyway, after the war was over in 1947, they sent a admiral by the name of Admiral Byrd to Antarctica in something called Operation High Jump, where he was sent with, I think, 20 men total to just like reconnoiter, investigate whatever the Germans were doing down there, to check out their facilities. And whenever they got back, they were all given a gag order and the Medal of Honor. And that's it. So
they were all given a gag order in the medal. All of them were given the Medal of Honor.
They were placed on like a 48-hour debrief, if I recall correctly. They were ordered to never speak about what they found, which that part's probably pretty standard to most military reconnoiter operations.
I think they stopped Hitler from being able to acquire alien technology down there, and they brought it home.
Now we're on the right path.
I don't think Hitler.
I think Hitler was down there. So my favorite
Antarctica.
My favorite conspiracy theory, the one that I crave to be real, is the ancient civilizations one. The one, and when they lay out the timeline of the Earth's life, you're like, oh shit, this one does kind of make a bit of sense, right?
Like Atlantis, because they're like, yeah.
We've only been here for such a short period of time, like our civilization, like the last 6,000 years that we've actually recorded and can remember more or less. And the planet's been habitable, and we've been humans like we are for a very long time. Like we could have easily peaked and like been like pyramid building, and then lost that and then 50,000 years went by. We resorted back to like hunter gathering people who don't even understand agriculture, and then we could have done it 3 or 4 times in the amount of time there's just no evidence for it, right? And so that's when you got to look to places like maybe Antarctica, maybe like wasn't that a tropical place a long time ago, probably predating humans, but I know at some point it was like maybe close to where Australia is.
Over like enough millions of years, all that shit's cyclical, right? With like, because you had
Pangea
or something,
right, where everything was one giant megacontinent and then it broke up. But for a long time, I think Antarctica was more of a tropical thing, like in the Australia area ish.
If there was something that like changed in elevation, we would have found that under the seas by now, or no? Because I guess that we really haven't been.
I don't think we've charted the seas very well.
What do you mean by change in elevation? Like if there was
Like if it was like, oh, there was this that's the only one I know, so I keep saying Atlantis. Oh, it used to be here, and then the water levels changed a million years ago, and now it's deep under the sea or something.
That's actually fairly common. Not just in like ancient civilizations, like the Greek city of I know all this stuff until I'm asked about it. There was a Greek city near the coast that was like this sprawling landscape that was flooded in, I forget when. That's supposedly the inspiration for stories of Atlantis. There's also one off the coast of what's the country that gets hit by tsunamis all the time? It's not Japan, Southeast Asia.
Indonesia?
I think Indonesia. There was a city that was built in like the 1300s that had gone completely underwater. And what was wild is a couple years ago when they got hit with their last tsunami, this place has been underwater for hundreds of years. When the water drew back before the wave, for the first time, the entire city, like this underwater city with these statues and buildings, the footage of it's wild.
That's really cool.
The people who took the footage were having a terrible time.
I really like the idea of ancient forgotten technologies that might differ from ours greatly enough that they would be cool and interesting and maybe something could be discoverable. I think that Baghdad battery shit is bullshit. I don't give a goddamn. It's just, it was probably a sex toy. They were putting that thing on somebody's clit to like.
I don't know what that is. Your
they found these like primitive like makeshift batteries. It's like a clay pot with I think you got like an acidic solution and maybe a copper tube or something like that, and maybe there's another metal that's involved. But in any case, it could form an ancient battery. You could make an electrical charge. And but they're not powering laptops back then with that thing. They're fucking like sticking their dicks in it because it feels weird.
They're shocking each other for fun.
Yeah, I that's probably like I could imagine a religious ritual where they use science to like reinforce religion the way that remember in what's that awesome Mel Gibson movie the Apocalypto, when they know the eclipse is coming and the priest kind of looks over at the head honcho like, yeah, it's coming. And by priest, he's like he's an astronomer like from 1,000 years ago, and he's just like, here it comes. And so the king is like, the sun disappears, and they're like, holy shit, the boss made this. And then he's like, and come back, like as soon as the priest gives him the go ahead nod for that. And it's like, you can imagine how you're gonna get in line for a man who does something like that, like a guy who can make the sun disappear and come back. That's magic. Someone knowing that the sun is going, they wouldn't even think of it that way. They'd never take that extra leap, like, because how could you know it was coming, right? Unless you understood astronomy.
Yeah.
No, I like that a lot. I like the idea of lost civilizations and that stuff just being eaten by the
ravages of time.
Well, yeah, the way the Earth's crust goes under itself and just gets eaten over and over until there's no, it's just gone. It's gone.
It is wild to think about like buried cities. Like we build civilization on top of civilization, and think of like everything that's sunk underneath. Concepts of sunken cities from like old lore, not like in the ocean, like the land gave way and there's these underground caverns.
Well, there's that thing in have you seen the thing, the Graham Hancock stuff about the Göbekli Tepe place in Turkey?
I've heard of it, and it's supposed to be like a super old civilization, or some people theorize that.
Yeah, that Graham Hancock guy, he's been on Rogan a bunch of times. I read his books; they're good. But he thinks that a comet came and melted flash melted a huge ice cap and flooded out this ancient civilization that existed like 10 or 20,000 years ago in Turkey. And they found this huge structure that was built there, and people should have been like hunter gatherers with stone tools back then, and instead you would have had to have like a civilization, because somebody's got to be hunting and gathering to get extra food so that you can have artisans who can even make something, like that. And supposedly
you kind of need agriculture.
So that's an interesting one. I don't know. I like that stuff a lot. I like lost mysteries. And the other one I really like is the idea of life being on one of the moons of Saturn or Jupiter, maybe like under the ice.
What's the one everyone says is super habitable?
Titan, maybe.
I think Titan.
Europa.
That sounds right.
There's a movie about Europa. Yeah.
What is it called? Is that?
I think it's Titan.
Titan.
I think Titan's the one everyone says that like it's almost habitable.
I don't want to live on any of them.
And no. It's a couple kilometers of ice at least, and then but then you've got a warm.
Yeah, that's
ocean.
habitable.
But you've got a warm ocean down
briefly.
Yeah.
And I think
anything's habitable for small amounts of time.
Very briefly.
I think that like the most ambitious scientists think that there's probably like some amoebas or some like bacteria down there that feeds off of thermal activity. But I really want there to
monsters.
I don't give a shit about that.
I need mermaids.
I need something with hands for me to really care. Like something that made tools.
If I get there and the fish has hands, I'm going back.
Yeah. Well, that would just confirm it's like, oh, so somebody had a nuclear apocalypse here a long time ago. And now all the fish are peeling their kelp at the bottom of the sea or whatever the fuck. Yeah, I couldn't think of anything they would do with hands. Seems like a bad idea. But
I've been looking at a bunch of like weird sci-fi. I wanted a new sci-fi book, so I've been watching YouTube videos about various like sci-fi authors. And it might be an Isaac Asimov. I don't know who wrote this one, but the premise is that aliens come to Earth and they just sort of like hover over us, and we do try to attack them, but it like bounces off, and they're like, "Chill, listen, we're here to help. Our bosses sent us here to get you guys up to speed. You're going to join the Galactic Federation. You can't look at us though. We're rough looking. Okay, we're going to hang out here for a while. When you get used to us, our ships and then communicating with us, then we'll reveal ourselves." And that goes on for like many years, like 10, 20, I don't know how many, like call it 10, 15 years. And sure enough, they've really enriched humanity lately. Technology's better, culture's better, everything's better. And they're like, all right, it's time. Chill though, right? And they like step out of their craft and they literally look like the devil. They literally look like the devil, like horns and pointy tails and like pointy teeth and claws. But there's no twist at the end. They're just nice. They really are these like ambivalent, nice people. They're like, don't be scared. We know that a lot of people get scared of us and all. I'm Mark.
This is my husband Alan, and it's like, oh, they're progressive. Like,
No, I've been looking for a new one to read. It's that or Helldivers. I kind of want to go back to the Helldivers series.
What's
and finish
Helldivers?
that. Oh, that's the one where
the average life is 10 jumps, and this guy's on jump 95, and he's hard ass. I remember.
Yeah, the Earth's all poisoned, and we live in the sky on a hover ship. Those books are fun.
I want to read a book about Antarctica. I don't care if it is 100% whole cloth made up. Like I just like it's a fun story. Yeah, just start off with something kind of fun where it's like the Nazis left, and then just make it up.
Yep.
Who cares?
Just have a good time. That's all that matters.
That's what matters in all these theories, that you're having a fun time.
Exactly. The funnest part about it is there was a second Operation High Jump, if I remember, like in the 60s or the 70s, when a group supposedly went to Antarctica. One of the funnest theories is that they took cameras there and had like this broken footage of like plant life they discovered and like a civilization of people under the ice. Love it. Fantastic. I believe it. Don't need any further information.
I want to believe
all living under the ice.
100%.
Because our existence is a little boring at times, right? Like, like the stuff that happens in movies is so dynamic and big and earth changing, and nothing really big has ever happened in our lifetime. It's not really like even to us, it doesn't feel real, but I want something that's so big that even if you're not touched by it, it feels big. Like I want to discover some aliens or do a thing, right?
Seems like it'd have to be aliens, right? Like what else could it be?
I do want, or one of those lost civilizations. I want to find some mole people under Antarctica, and they've been under there for like 80,000 years. And their technology is way better than ours,
or way worse. I'm fine with that.
But they're mole people, so we just beat the fuck out of them. Like
I can't wait to kill it. Yeah.
Or aliens show up and they're like pedaling. And we're like, you're talking about Witchcraft. I had a bunch of Twitter friends link me weird ass subreddits to laugh at and make fun of, and one of the ones they linked me was Witchcraft, and these people are ridiculous. There are 123,000 what I assume to be women who believe themselves to be witches on here. And one of the top posts that I linked was, literally never wanted one, but I found this on a walk across a bridge in Georgia. And even my husband said, that's not a stick, that's a wand. fits my hand perfectly somehow. And it's a photo of this bitch holding a stick.
She's Hermione. That's amazing. Look at that.
First of all, how do you not realize your husband's making fun of you? That's not a stick. That's a wand, Harry. Like, no, that's fucking ridiculous. And then they have like unironic posts here like, well, I finally did it. I was so upset with my ex that I cast my first hex.
Yeah.
And then people will respond and be like, this is a great power not to be trifled with, but I'm happy that you took down that abusive bastard. And it's like, you people are fucking retards.
Let me read this one. Cast my first real hex.
Yeah.
This is 16 hours ago, by the way. This is an active subreddit. Released all the things I held inside, everything I bound and held inside. Someone threatened to kill me in earnest, and I've spent the week afraid. So I said, fuck it. If not now, then when? He has sexually assaulted girls around me, and he is an old man that lives next door. Tried breaking into my room to hurt me. Now my candles won't stop flickering and spinning. My first earnest hex. Lights are flickering too. Maybe there's a rare case when a hex isn't wrong. This man smells of evil. His aura sickens me. And when I tried to ignore him, he entered my space and threatened me. We will see how this goes.
Gosh, dude.
And look, this serious comment with 114 upvotes says, hexing isn't any more wrong than any other type of magic.
Oh, hey, they're right.
Sometimes it's necessary for self-protection.
And so I challenged the entire Witchcraft subreddit to a battle of magic. And I ask someone out there on our team, we need to start the r/wizards.
Warlocks.
Warlocks. Yes, that's cooler. And wizards is probably taken. r/warlocks. And the whole theme of that subreddit is going to be mocking how women don't have a full understanding of the magic auras.
The magical arts.
That's what we need to do.
No, you better be careful. You're going to get a lot of hexes on you. You're going to get a lot of hexes. I'm just saying, you know, if you don't believe in it or whatever, you might get.
He invited demons into his soul multiple times. I've borne witness to it.
And I fought them back.
Concrete slide. With
How did you do that? With what magic did you do that?
It was literally a joke. Like, it was a couple of years ago. I was watching the Conjuring with my girlfriend.
Tell that to the Morning Star.
Yeah, to the Morning Star. And we were watching that, and my girlfriend believes in like demons and all that stuff, and I don't. And I thought it was funny to, like, as we were watching it, to be like, Satan, come into my heart. Use me as your vessel. Use me as you will. Deliver your will to this earth using me. Like, saying that, like, something really, and like, I thought it was hilarious. And she was like, stop that. Don't ever.
Man, if you just had some
ever do that
Alka-Seltzers to like put in your mouth.
Oh, yeah. Start seizing.
She goes, but then she goes a step too far and fucking plunges a knife into your chest.
Your mortal weapons are no match. Really, you know, I'm in the hospital later. I was just committing to the bit.
You know, then later this week, Taylor, if you trip and fall and you like accidentally hit your neck on a piece of glass that's sitting on the ground or something, you're gonna know what happened.
I was wrong about witchery.
You got hexed.
Yeah, but that was so many of them. They sent me. I went to r/gangstalking. And one,
what's that?
It ended up being more sad. Yeah, we talked about it on the show.
That?
I forgot about it. We talked about it on the show until I looked there again. It's basically people who have genuine mental illness.
Yeah,
saying like, "Hey, I was out at the supermarket today, and I saw a bunch of red cars. You know, they're always in red cars." And I was walking through the gluten-free aisle, and someone behind me said something that I said exactly just a couple weeks prior. And they're mocking me. They know that I know that they're watching, and they still come after me.
They're conspiracy theorists?
No, they believe that there are huge groups of a government agency that are trailing them in a very clandestine way. And so they will say things like, and then it's just a feedback loop in this community. Like, every once in a while, like, a big post comes through of like, hey guys, please get yourself checked out for schizophrenia. This is not normal. There are not people following you. This is, you're losing your mind.
There are videos of it. There's the lady's like, I'm being gang stalked right now. Look at this. This is the. It's so funny. She's like, I see him here every day coming down this street, and you look, and it's the mailman.
Yeah.
Oh no.
She approaches the mailman who's in that stupid fucking mail truck. Why do we
His
still have
shorts,
those
yeah.
stupid fucking mail trucks? And she screams at him, "Stop following me!" And he's like, "The fuck is your problem?"
What's wrong
No,
with
it's
mail trucks?
This is insane. This
They've been driving
yeah.
the same truck since like 1950.
I feel like the mail is one of the more frugal government organizations I can think of.
Well, that's
It
because
cannot
they're,
be-
they're going out of business right now.
The cheapest way to like run the mail cannot be to maintain a fleet of 1950s mail vans.
I feel like that's frugality. Like they
Well,
If Jeff
going out of
Bezos
business.
thought that was the way to go, he'd have a bunch of those bitches riding around. Instead, he got big ass vans that say Amazon in the back. There's a whole conspiracy behind why they're in those vans. Let me look this up.
Kyle, you're getting gang stalked, aren't you? You're getting gang stalked by the mail. I knew it. This is I'm reading the How to Protect Yourself from Gang Stalking thread. That's at the top of the gang stalking subreddit, and it's in bold. The enemy is a coward. The enemy is a deceiver. The enemy is diabolical. The enemy is the corrupt. This is insane.
Psychiatry is an apparatus of abuse.
I feel really bad. I feel really bad for them actually, because
it's like it's a genuine mental illness, like some sort of paranoid psychosis. And so this is.
I'm just happy there are
sad.
people on Earth that are that funny.
Yeah, it is pretty funny. So, those are good videos on YouTube. Anybody who hasn't watched, where like they'll sit. That was one where the guy's pointing around. Look at all these red cars. It's it's just a red car. Why are you parked next to so many red cars? He's like pointing at some like old lady. He's like, yeah, you think I don't know who you are? You think I don't know? And then like gets out of the car, walks over. What are you doing, ma'am? Oh, just shopping? Just shopping? I please. I'm just trying to put my groceries in. Yeah, in your red Subaru, huh? Like that kind of nonsense.
What a bummer.
Yeah, that part's kind of sad. Witchcraft, I was having more fun making fun of. This got 1,400 upvotes on the Witchcraft subreddit. My sister, 9 years old, is already a powerful witch. She saw me studying for a very difficult calculus test. And when I said it would be tough, she gave me her lucky pencil and told me to use it on the test and I'd do well. I thought it was so cute. I used it through the whole test, except for the last two questions. It had an enormous watermelon-shaped eraser on the back that made it cumbersome to work with. So I got my test back, and those were the only two questions I lost points on. Fast forward, I was helping her clean her room and came across a book of spells, including one for enchanting her pencil. Incredible. And people are supporting this. There's something about amazing kids and their intuition. This is so cool. Keep encouraging her. She's going to go far.
What was the grade?
What's that?
What was the grade? I want to know what the grade was on that test, because she didn't even say. She just said I did
Right.
well, right?
Yeah, probably still shitty. Probably not good.
Yeah,
it wasn't
what was
magic
it?
enough of a pencil.
She would have said like a 98% or something.
Right?
Yeah.
She could have
It
had
was a
three
three-question test, and I only got the last two wrong. Fucking idiot. I once did a spell when I was 7 out of spite on a tire, and that tire later ran over some nails. Children are powerful, and they don't even know it. I made a love potion out of all the good-smelling soaps and stuff in my bathroom when I was a kid. I used it on myself as a test, and damn, I genuinely liked the person I saw in the mirror. Too bad I don't remember what was in it. Yeah, it was probably fucking a bath bomb and some warm vanilla sugar.
Man, did I get a rash? None of them are like that.
It was a hex the whole time.
Like none of them are failures.
People,
that's what's interesting. Like nobody's spells are going awry or just not working. It's just
that happened all the time in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
It was Willow was fucking shit up left and right.
Constantly fucking spells up like all the time. Yeah. And I feel like that's what you do if you're a witch.
Nobody on this forum is going, man, it sucks because I had such an interest in witchcraft and I don't have the gift.
I had such a hard time buying Xander as the nerdy doofus, though. Dude's like 6'4" and handsome, and he's supposed to be the nerd of the group.
He got too big and also abused his girlfriend in real life. And he definitely was not a nerd. And
I bet he could handle her easily. Big boy. He's a big dude.
He's a big guy.
Towered over everyone else.
And a little message to the listeners out there. if you're going to be silly on Reddit with the forums we talk about, you got to be tactful. You got to be tactful. You got to keep it going, because the r/telekinesis top rated post is still this one about a connection between physical traits and mental ability. And it's, do you think there's any connection between the size of someone's skull and their ability to perform telekinesis? My Uncle Taylor has a way above average skull, both in thickness and girth, and he tells me he's able to move Cheez-Its. Is this crazy, or is there maybe a connection? 77 upvotes on their subreddit. Talking about me moving Cheez-Its with my dumbass giant head.
That's an example of a
Shout out to you, Max
perfectly
Lamb.
orchestrated troll post. Okay,
Yeah.
It wasn't over the top. It wasn't
Yeah.
ridiculous,
That's why I use
and
that
it's referential. He's got 2 different references in there, right? Taylor's love of Cheez-Its and his big ass head. All right, that is a 9.9 out of 10 judges scorecards. That was excellent.
Go do what Max did. Make it funny, but believable enough that these people, fall for it.
Tell them about a hex that you put on someone that made them an alcoholic, or tell them about something like that. like talk about some magic that you did. Come up with a nice referential hex.
One of you get in there and say, I had no idea how powerful I was in 2016. At the time, I was a Hillary person, and so I used a hex on the DNC to screw Bernie over. And to this day, I regret it. Is there any way I can reverse this wizardry? Something like that. Yeah, that shit. Oh, there's so many possibilities.
Or
here.
maybe a love potion that like.
Right, I don't want to owe you money, and then suddenly, like, that's a danger. I don't want you owing me money, then, like, that's another problem in itself.
Right.
And
They were pretty chill about that. I didn't feel like it was going to be a big thing. It was mostly just they weren't. Everybody, there were a lot of people with good sense of humor. Like some guy got his towel stolen one day. His towel, his bath towel, and you're assigned, I think, 3 brown bath towels. They're garbage. They remind me of the kind of chamois that you'd like dry your car off with, and like very not very absorbent, real rough, too. And pretty small. And if you like got them soaking wet and like wrung them out, brown liquid would come out because they were like, dyed brown, and it was pretty gross. So, and I always thought, like, I bet I'm just like rubbing a little bit of that brown dye on me every time I dry off. I'm never actually going to be clean while I'm in here. But you could buy your own towel from the commissary, and it was an okay towel, and I think it was sort of a cream color, and it was better. I don't remember what they cost. I didn't bother to buy one. But this guy's towel got stolen one morning, and he starts screaming, "God damn it, y'all! Who gonna steal my towel? My motherfucking towel was hung up right motherfucking here. I hope you know I've been drying my balls with that towel. I've been wiping my asshole with that towel. And now you gonna wipe your face with it? What the fuck is wrong with you?" And he goes on like this forever, and everybody's screaming at him, "Ain't nobody gonna bring your towel back. Just let it go. Let it go. They ain't bringing it back. Not now that you done made a big deal." He's like, "I ain't making a big deal. Maybe you accidentally grabbed my towel. I hold no ill will toward you, towel man. Please bring me my towel." And I'm like, "God damn, I don't even, if you want one of mine?" Like he wanted it so bad. And then like 10 minutes later, he goes, "Excuse me, everyone. A little embarrassing. I found the towel. Sorry about all that."
That's pretty cool of him, though. Did people laugh? Like, how did it go?
Yeah, everybody's laughing their asses off at him. Yeah. He was all right. He was in my drug class. He sold crack on the outside.
Entrepreneur.
Yeah, he was working on it.
Yeah, nice guy. He had gold teeth. Yeah, it was
He was
interesting
a
little fella.
successful crack dealer.
He had a good sense of humor. Yeah, he really did.
You glossed over something else. The currency you said that you use in jail.
You said it was fish.
Mackerel fillets in a tear-off pouch. Like you can buy Starkist tuna in those pouches.
Is it like I don't know this pouch? I'm picturing like an Altoids tin. Am I close?
No. It's a metallic pouch that it's got a gusseted bottom, so it'll stand up, and then the top just
like a big Capri Sun.
Yeah, sort of like that. If you just Google like tuna pouch, like you'll see it. Like it's
so. Why did you use those as currency?
I think. I don't know, but my best guess is that they were one of the more affordable items. They were 70 cents a pouch, and it's one of the fewer meat items that was on the commissary list. And it just seemed like I don't know. That's how people did it. You know, they were like, I'll do this for 3 max. I want how many max you got. You know, it was always about how many max you had. And I didn't even. And I was just like, I don't have any max because they're fucking disgusting, and I don't want any either. I don't want any. Like I ate mackerel one time when I was there accidentally. My friend made me this bowl of food. It was like mashed potatoes, rice, and meat with like vegetables in it, like peppers and onions. And I'm eating it. And I thought it was chicken, and I'm like, when was the last time we had chicken? 4 days ago? I mean, he's eating it. He knows best. I guess.
Chicken has scales on it.
Yeah, I'm like, what's all this black connective tissue? I guess that's the bad part of the chicken. But I mean, who am I to? Beggars can't be choosers, you know. And I ate like 3 bites of it, and my next door neighbor goes, "You eating tuna?" And I'm like, "No, I'm eating mackerel." And I just
Mackerel is so
realized
cheap and shitty.
It is. It's actually really cheap. My girlfriend has those pouches. They're the Starkist pouches that you can just get those and eat them. But I would assume it's probably a more generic version of those in prison.
Absolutely. I wanted the chili that we had in there. It's Brushy Creek brand chili in a pouch. I loved it. It was fucking delicious, and I want to eat it on the outside now. It was so goddamn good.
Oh wow!
It was like $9 a bag to order some or something stupid. I think I found it for $4 a bag, but you had to buy a bunch of it too. And I'm thinking like, it was $2.40 in prison. It was $2.40 in prison. How are you going to charge me $4 out here?
It's $4.40 on this website.
I was going to ask that, Kyle. Like, so commissary prices. Let me back up a step. Prison income is very low. You guys are working sometimes, not you, but the guys are working for less than $1 an hour, I think.
8 cents to 20 cents an hour, somewhere in there, depending on the job.
So the prices in commissary, did they scale down at all, or would you find
up? Yeah, things
So
were more expensive than they were in the grocery
toothbrush
store.
could be like 30 hours of work or more.
I wish I had a commissary list. I should have brought one because I didn't consider the prices. You may be able to look it up online, but I didn't really care because, like, you know, I'm going to spend what I'm going to spend. If I need toothpaste, well, you know, spare no expense.
You got commissary money. Making it rain.
Yeah, I'm like you at the fucking movie theater. I'm just fucking Ike and Mike's, fucking Reese's Pieces. Let's fucking go, baby. Yeah, I want the large cherry Coke. So you know, like I remember I had this St. Ives like face moisturizer, and it was like $11 for this jar of it, like that big. And I was,
what, are you gonna not face moisturize?
Yeah, I'm not.
Prison. You gotta look your best.
I got a gay neighbor who I'm trying to impress.
You know, like, and nobody would like think twice about that because everybody did it. Everybody is like moisturizing and like trying to look their best.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm putting something together that's a little racist here. I think that black people are more moisturizing people.
Yeah,
well,
they
Bill Burr had a
grease
whole
up.
bit about that. About white people need to start using lotion because it'll do wonders for your skin.
I would, you know, there's no privacy. So without staring, you become very aware of your neighbor's daily rituals and like what they put on themselves and what they do and
I'm laughing
how
at your kerosene guy.
Yeah, I'm about to talk about him. That fucking Gregory Milton, the guy I bunked with, this 50-something-year-old black fella who's got a huge bald spot on top, and it's like bald here too. He's rubbing this shit in his hair. He's got 3 goddamn jars of it. It's called like Fresh Grow Organic Scalp and Hair Treatment or something like that. And I got a good look at it one day, and it looks like a clear gel with bits of plant matter in it. And he'd get himself a big goop of this shit and lather up, and he'd start rubbing it into his scalp and his hair, and it would wake me from my sleep.
A clear gel with bits of shit. It's like a chia pet baldness cure.
Yes.
He's trying to grow his hair back.
His best, yeah.
He's trying to grow his hair back.
Prison took everything from him, but it didn't take its ability to grow back his hair.
All right, silly. Greasing my bald head up. Gonna grow it back. Hell yeah. Super freak.
This guy narrates everything he does.
He narrates his whole life and mine.
How did it smell? It must have smelled.
It smelled like the big fat permanent markers that you can get high off of, mixed with kerosene.
Hell yeah!
Yep.
It was a very chemically alcohol, like gasoline kind of smell. Very potent. I think he could have gotten high off of it. It was awful, and he'd put it on 4 or 5 times a day at least.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Because he
Wait,
worked out twice a day and and sometimes 3 times a day, and he was always just like coming back in to like wash up and put more on. Thank God he showered well
Pretty
because he
buff.
stunk. He ate a lot, so he was maintaining
Little
like
country strong, maybe.
yeah,
Country
you know,
strong.
and he's in his 50s, so like you know, he looked fun. He looked pretty good for being in his 50s.
You got a
and
dad
everything.
bod, yeah?
Yeah, I would say so. Like kind of a big chest, you know, like a muscular chest, but a little bit of a belly at the same time, and like you know, big shoulders. Not overweight, but not ripped or anything. He ate a lot, like always eating.
The most important question here: Did his hair grow when you were in?
No. If anything, he was losing it. He was.
That was
Because I got a perfect
angle.
angle. I'm up above him in the top bunk, looking down at this back of this guy's head. And he would just get up at night and stand there staring at his locker sometimes for like 10 minutes, and I'd just be like,
Yeah, what was he doing?
Here I am staring at my locker. Just staring at it, you know?
can't go to sleep, can't get away. What am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Staring at my
Life's a
locker,
big
thinking
joke.
about my cute white cellmate. I want to know about the commissary shit. Like obviously, it seems like most of it was like small time, just amenities. Like I need toothpaste, I need a toothbrush, I need Max. Was there any like really big dick stuff that if you
Big
were
ticket
walking
item.
back from there, they're like, he got a George Foreman grill, son of a bitch. Like any kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, sunglasses were $55. I had me a pair right away.
Hell yeah!
Fucking Men in Black style. Fucking, because I don't go out in real life without sunglasses. Like I always wear sunglasses, and that was a big problem for me when I first got there because I couldn't get the sunglasses right away because of the spending limit. I just didn't have enough money to get food, clothes, and sunglasses, so I had to wait a week to be able to get them. And my eyes were so goddamn bloodshot that the nurse tried to have me piss tested because my eyes looked like I was on drugs. And but the guard, I explained myself to the guard, and he was like, "Oh, all right, well get out of here then. You're not on drugs." I'm like, "Yeah." Can you tell? If I was on drugs, I'd really be enjoying it, though. I wouldn't be this upset if I were on drugs. I'd love some drugs, but I'm not. I'm not on any drugs.
Did you partially get the glasses just to rank up your RPG character to make yourself look a little more senior in there?
No, I thought they made me look goofy because there were those lame like Nike sports sunglasses. I wore them for like sun protection.
I pictured like Ray-Ban Wayfarers. Like, am I off?
Yeah,
That's
I would
even
have
more
loved
expensive.
Ray-Ban Wayfarers. That's what I wear in real
That's
life.
what I choose. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the
No,
most
they were,
expensive thing you could get at the commissary?
I think it may have been the MP3 player. The MP3 player was probably close to $100, and the radio was like $70. And I got a good pair of headphones. I think the brand is Core, Korr, and they were like $30 or something like that. So your headset and radio of choice would be around $100 to $120. So they would get stolen occasionally. People would steal them, and
But
so I kept.
so, like, how'd you get music on it? Like, you know?
Yeah, you go over the computer and you download whatever you want, like gangster
really?
rap or whatever. Yeah, I used a radio.
Or...
How does it?
I didn't get into that because I used a radio. I didn't care to like.
How does it
you know,
get
I just
stolen? Like in my head, I take
What do you mean, how's
yours.
it get stolen?
Let me explain. I take Kyle's stuff. Well, there's Kyle's shit sitting by my bed. Like if I'm gonna
Your shit
steal
looks
from
like
someone,
well, it's not like you get different brands or colors,
and you
All of them
can't
look the same.
distinguish it, you can't like take a Sharpie to it or a
Scratch it.
scratching.
That'd be smart to do, but this
Well,
guy
also-
hadn't done that.
Also, though, like if you left, for example, let's say you left your MP3 player like on your bed, could somebody else get into your cell while you were gone?
Oh yeah, there's no cells. These are bedrooms separated by block walls that don't go to the ceiling. Like you just walk right in. There's no door to your cell at all.
Got it.
So
Got
like, so you lock your fucking locker. I locked my locker up. I'll tell you what else I've been watching. Those submarine World War II animation videos. I cried today. I cried at one of them today. Let me tell you.
A submarine video.
Yeah. So this one wasn't specifically submarines, but it
They're
was
so deep and alone.
Hear me out. Hear me out.
There's no other
Shark down there.
No other ships to keep them company.
Just recycled farts and the guy next to you. Or on a steel can down here. No, this one wasn't specifically submarines. It was the tale of a British boat. So essentially, it was early World War One, or I think one. And the situation was that a German vessel had gotten into the Atlantic unseen by the Royal Navy, and there was a huge merchant fleet that was heading back toward England with 37, I believe, vessels, and they're all civilians. It's a merchant fleet. They're goods, fuel, stuff like that, but not military men, not armed vessels. 37 of them, and amongst them, as sort of a ceremonial or like a token protector, is this boat that used to be a cruise liner. It used to be take the trip to fucking Australia and back with civilians on a cruise liner, and they had strapped 6-inch guns onto it. Okay, they strapped like multiple 6-inch guns, some of them from the 1800s. And this is the defender of this of these boats. Well, they spot this gigantic battleship from German battleship off in the distance. This thing has multiple like 11 or 12-inch guns. It outranges them by like kilometers, and so they flash the lights. Identify yourself to the Germans. Germans don't speak English flashy flash, so they reply back with the same thing. You identify yourself. And the English are like, aha, we know this German ruse. Get them. So they instantly make the decision what has to be done. The fleet has to scatter. They have to throw up a smoke screen. And the cruise liner with its 6-inch guns from the 1800s has to steam as fast as it can headlong into the German battleship and hold it off as long as it can. And the battle does not go their way. Their guns are so outranged that they don't get to hit the Germans. Ship. The Germans keep their distance and slowly kill the Englishmen. Even when the captain's arm is blown away and his leg is shredded, he refuses to stop commanding the vessel, and he says to keep shooting the guns at maximum elevation. We've got to distract them and let the fleet get away. And in the end, over 30 of the vessels made it because of their sacrifice. And I was getting all teared up.
That's an incredible sacrifice.
When I realized they weren't going, and the worst part was, it was like these were like merchant marines, like they weren't they didn't have military training per se. They had been part of the crew beforehand when it was a goddamn cruise liner.
Oh, so they
many of them were
brought drinks to
employees.
People and snacks.
They got like the original crew manning many of the positions, and to a man.
People should know this story, man. That's unbelievable bravery on behalf of those people.
I felt so, but every one of these stories is kind of similar with like the heroics and the crazy stuff. I don't know how it's on YouTube and not on the History Channel. The History Channel is such a piece of shit for not having cool stuff
those
like that on there.
Cunts with their
it's
aliens.
So cheap to make.
It's like Sister Wives instead.
Yeah, that's what TLC is. The Learning Channel.
Nudity.
Remember the Learning Channel? And now
it used to be surgeries.
My 1,000-pound sisters or whatever the
fuck. For y'all young folks out there, there was a program on the Learning Channel, TLC, called Operation. You know what it was? It was 45-minute human operation procedures. I saw them like give somebody a cornea transplant, and like I definitely saw someone get their
appendix removed.
No, when you get neutered as a not neutered, but fixed as a man.
Vasectomy.
Thank you. I couldn't think of that word.
It's like you watched a man be castrated on the Learning Channel.
I couldn't get all circumcised.
Made him a eunuch.
It's like that Arab seems pretty Taliban, or that doctor seems pretty Taliban. Damn it,
Doctor la 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 la. No, they just had the operations there, and I remember sitting with my mother at like 7 p.m., 8 p.m. at night, watching them stitch some lady's fucking cervix up or something. Right? It was crazy.
Yeah. Did you ever see the breast implant ones where you could almost the nipple and like most of the good boob area was blurred out, but like seeing that as like a 13-year-old on TLC was like,
hey dude, check out Channel 5. There's a breast exam on.
Yeah. There was this one. There was this
Taylor
one show.
That movie. I bet he doesn't.
I don't know.
You don't get that reference. You piece of shit. Woody gets the reference.
It was a good reference, Taylor.
You are when Woody has the reference and gets the fucking friendly chuckle for me, and you're left in the cold. Go watch Office Space. Go watch it.
Oh, I've seen Office Space. I must have just missed the joke.
You need better recall.
You better recall.
I'm gonna need you to get some Adderall. All right, I'm all drugged up over here, and I'm getting these references.
You're just dude, I'm gonna get on that.
I have a much lighter topic, and I'm curious about. Kyle, you bought a Spork. Did you show it to the show already? I remember you telling us about your Spork. I am thinking,
why?
I'm in the market for a Spork, and I wonder,
possibly be.
Look at this Spork. It unfolds like a tent pole. Is it a long Spork? Would you call it? I think it's a normal length Spork is what I'm seeing.
Why did you buy that?
Yes. Why did you buy a collapsible Spork? I know you don't really like camping.
I want something expensive and yet worse than traditional utensils.
I wanted a Spork. I wanted a Spork in my life.
I just wanted,
I wanted a Spork in my life.
Spork in your life.
I wanted a Spork in my life.
So you can eat soup inefficiently. Why?
Don't judge me. Okay, the Spork is the perfect utensil. First of all, the Spork dominates the spoon. It dominates the spoon. If it's in here, as long as I can remember how to put it in there, I don't right now. But I've got instructions over there somewhere. Where are they? Where are my instructions? Yeah, here they are.
You need instructions for a Spork?
I'll memorize it eventually. I don't do this. There's a special way to that way. Okay, no, it's like this. It's like this. Yeah, it's easy to forget. There's like 3 different ways for things to go. You get it.
It looks like there's one way for it to go.
Well, you're dumb. That just shows how dumb you are. Clearly,
yeah,
I mean,
clearly,
you don't know how to use.
I won't be able to.
Clearly, you don't know how to use a collapsible Spork. You haven't been trained yet. But I'm.
But why? Shit.
You
fucking idiot.
Why? It goes in. Look, it went in there. It went in. Yeah.
No. Lift it back up. Lift it back up. That shit did not go in. That shit absolutely did not go in. All right. All right.
Let's go back to instructions.
You fucking retard.
He's back on the of the Spork.
Hang on.
But I just blown away. But why?
Why did you buy us? I'm in the market for a Spork.
You can't possibly be in the.
I am. I do all this moto camping.
I got it.
No, hold it up on the screen so we can confirm that it's sliding gracefully into the holster.
Hang on. It's right in there. Yeah, look at that. Bam.
Look at that. Look at how much time you saved.
Nailed it. All right.
And look, it hooks onto your keychain so you can take it anywhere, right? So now this is part of my life. I'm a Spork man now.
I'm a motorcycle guy. I'm
a zipper lighter thing, but he went with the Spork. So what made you buy a Spork, Kyle?
Man, I'm just buying stuff for my trip to Colorado, and I was thinking, I'm probably gonna eat some cheesy potatoes or something. I'd like a Spork for that, and it'd be pretty cool, be pretty chill. I think everybody would be blown away if I was just like popped over my Spork,
Everyone's gonna. They'll certainly be blown away.
I bought all sorts of things. I got my lighter.
Now that is sick.
Pimp. Yes.
Yeah, I got myself a Zippo there for lighting things.
Shit, I want one of those.
Colorado.
Will you be able to have a knife?
One of one.
When your commission's over?
Yeah, I can have knives, swords, black powder weaponry, cannons.
Oh, that's right.
Mortars,
swords,
bows, arrows, ninja weapons, shuriken.
How about that thing Worf has?
Oh, the Batleth. Oh,
yes.
The Batleth is already being made. Don't worry. I found a $900 Batleth on Etsy. I'm going to be a student of the blade. Okay. Champion.
I just looked up what a Batleth is. That's okay. I was going to make fun of it. This is actually pretty cool.
Zach, can you help us out with the Zach?
I've been training my Batleth technique since I was a young man. Okay, trust me.
Using a wooden Batleth right now.
How do you use it? You hold it and then occasionally swing it out.
Well, it depends. It depends. What
kind of foe you're facing. I'm sure
it would depend on the foe and what kind of weaponry he has.
What if he's a Spork?
What race he is? And by that I don't mean color. I mean literally.
Yeah, if it's a Bolian or a
Klingon or
another Klingon warrior, perhaps.
How long is your Spork? Is it longer than the utensils in your drawer?
I think so. I don't have
I'm shopping for a Spork. I bought utensils. I'm not sure I love them.
It is full length. It's at least as long as a standard implement.
When you're camping, have you ever seen the dehydrated food that campers get?
Yes.
Okay.
In that bag. Yeah.
In that bag. And if you don't have a long utensil, then you get it on your fingers and your knuckles and stuff as you finish it off. So I'm not sure your Spork's long enough. I don't know.
Yeah, you wasted. How much was the Spork?
It was $30, wasn't it?
Fuck, I don't know. I can look real quick on my Amazon. I don't think it was 30. I think it was probably more like 15. I used to have one of those titanium sporks. But I think
kicking yourself for losing it, right?
I literally am.
It was $30. I'm looking at it on Amazon. It's totally I can see the package it came in. It's that $29.95.
Woody, I would not spend $30 on a spork.
I know you would spend $29.95 on a spork.
There's no way I would do that. I'm looking at my past purchases. Let's see. I spent $80 on light bulbs yesterday.
Well, that's reasonable. You need light.
Well, I mean, it's 4 light bulbs. You saw that light bulb. It's fucking sick.
Mm-hmm.
It's that one I found on Reddit that look, it's $30. It's $29.95. Well, you know what? When you're in the market for a good, sport, expense is
money's no object.
Money's no object. You're just like, hey, I need a good sport, in my life, and
you'll be able to give that to your grandchildren.
I'll be able to.
You won't.
I mean, unless this rubber thing that allows it to do this bendy shit just breaks after 30 uses.
$30, it'll never break.
10 years later,
you didn't fold it right. The spoon part has to be in the middle. Remember the way you did it before the spoon? No, turn it towards the camera. Yeah, see, you have to put the middle part. The spoon has to be the middle part. You got to do the two fold.
Taylor's figured out how to operate a spork. You would see.
The spoon is absolutely not the middle part. It's like this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, evidence is on my side with the slide in.
Hang on,
yeah.
Not immediately evident. Like a fucking Rubik's Cube for assholes.
Looking stupid.
I got it.
No.
What?
Certainly.
Woody, who's the star of Home Alone?
Don't engage.
I'll let you know as soon as you finish that fucking sport.
Yeah. When I'll keep my hands up and then say his name after you put that. You're giving up, aren't you? It's Macaulay Culkin, Kyle. It's Macaulay Culkin.
Down, and then this goes back. And then
he's putting the spoon in the middle, Taylor.
There's only 3 movable
parts.
You'd be surprised. But they can each go 2 ways. There we go. So look at that. There we go.
Look at how convenient that was.
How you just keep these with you and you don't have any problem, right? You just always keep these on you. Look, I got these handy pockets right here. Bam. Boom. Never will be an issue. I won't. You never know when there's money in a pocket like this.
It's like a bomber jacket. Is that what that's called?
Zach found a great extendable dinner fork for dessert long-handled fork cutlery. It's 25 inches long. I want this. I just wish it was a spork instead.
Yeah, pull that at the campfire and start shoveling some fucking food in.
Dude, I would fucking pull that out at dinner time and flex on everybody. Show them.
All right, I kind of want it now. That's fucking.
If you go to that Amazon listing, go to the 3rd photo in the Amazon listing, and it shows someone stealing a dumpling off someone else's plate.
I'll have that.
Oh, I'll have it.
I'll have some of what is it? It's telescoping, isn't it?
I'll have what.
Oh shit! It's telescopic. I just realized that it's a.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
long.
And they don't have spork options, unfortunately.
Shit, you can save 5%. That's incalculable.
It's only $10.79. Dude, utensil talk needs to be a tentpole topic on this show.
Next week, all utensils, 4 hours. Get ready, boys. Chopstick hour. All right, that's coming. That's coming. Okay. Other utensils,
forks, spoons, chopsticks, and the rest.
Knives.
Never forget the knife.
You ever see one of those things you use to shave butter? It's like a little thing that's it's kind of like a cheese grater, but it's in a little scoop form. You'll shave a little butter on there and
put the wire on there.
Yeah,
like a cheese cutter almost. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, talking about prudent things, Kyle. We're talking about the Bible, and I know Tucker isn't saved, so
damn it. Tucker.
Hopefully this compels him. So today I'm going to tell the story of Samson.
My mom loves this
Samson
segment.
is an Old Testament figure. And most people think, I know Samson, can't cut your hair, gets with Delilah. Nay. They don't know the whole story of Samson. And
strong man.
It's longer, but there aren't necessarily more lessons. You got to look for them. So it begins in the prequel stage of Samson, going to his parents. So as with many things for the Jews, they did something that pissed God off, and God said, fuck you, you're going out of my presence again, go be slaves to some other people. And so they're some time into that, all the Israelites and Jews are really upset and just waiting for that next judge or prophet to come down and pull them out of this muck. And so one day, this guy named, the fuck was his name? Manoah, we're going to call him Mano from now on for short. Mano and his wife were just a random poor couple of Jews, very poor Israelites, and one day, an angel came down in angel form to Mano's wife and said, hey, you're about to give birth to someone who's going to totally change the direction of this tribe. And she's like, oh, that's awesome. And he says, yeah, it is. Now, all you got to do is make sure you don't smoke, don't drink, don't eat any grapes, nothing fermented, no mixed fabrics. You know, you're a Jew, you know the rules. She goes, yeah, I know. I got it all planned out. Just don't do any of that, and then you'll have a son. He's going to do some fantastic things. Angel poofs away. She goes back to her husband, Mano, and is like, you will not believe what happened. And I'm going to read in the NIV Bible, the New International Version. This is exactly what she says, and I'm going to say it in Trump's voice because it makes sense. A man of God came to me. He looked like an angel of God. Very awesome. That's what she said in the Bible. She goes up, says it was very awesome, and the husband goes, oh my God, so all you got to do is like not drink or smoke or anything, and then this kid's gonna come out good? She goes, yeah. He goes, all right, well, like, what do we do afterward? Like, when the kid's here, how do we raise him then? She goes, oh, I didn't ask him that. Shit. Like, should we call him back? It's like an angel. You can't call him back. And so he goes to the temple, prays, and goes, please send someone else here and tell us how to raise the kid. Like, we get it. Don't make a little fetal alcohol syndrome baby. But after he's born, how do we make sure he becomes a good dude and does all the things you want? And so a few days later, a man, regular old looking man, really an angel, comes down the road, talks to Mano, goes, hey, you know, the Lord pushed me to come to you and tell you that all you have to do for your child is make sure that a razor never touches his head or any part of his body. A razor is in like shaving, you know, removing hair. And also make sure that your wife abides by all those rules I said before. And he was like, okay, yeah, it's not that helpful, but you are just a guy. You're not an angel, so I guess this is how God wants me to figure it out. Okay, whatever. He doesn't know this guy's an angel. He goes, well, at the very least, let me be hospitable. Stay with me for dinner. And the angel, who's not letting on, goes, no, I don't want to stay for dinner. He goes, I insist. You must stay for dinner. And the angel goes, if you're going to, or I have a goat. We'll kill the goat and we'll eat it together. He goes, I'm not going to stay for dinner. But if I do stay, as you're asking me, take that goat and sacrifice it to the Lord. And Mano is like, oh yeah, like this goat, like my only goat. You want me to burn my own? Do you look around? We don't have a lot of goats. We've got one goat. This is our food for the next month.
Can't be fiddle fucking our goats to death.
Yeah, no, we have one goat. Like I was planning on eating this for a while, but yeah, I guess I'll just burn it. I'll just burn it for God because you're telling me to. Have you looked around my house? Have you looked around my 1-bedroom dirt floor thatched roof house? Do you smell salmon in here? We don't have any fish. That's my wife's Bronze Age pussy you're smelling. It's horrible in here. We have nothing to eat, and you're asking me to sacrifice this goat and burn it to you. And so he goes, he burns the goat begrudgingly, and he also burns some grain with it because the Lord is notorious for needing a side. And, after all that is burned, the guy just leaves. They're hungry, and 9 months later, out pops happy Samson, ready to take on the world. And as with most Bible stories, it doesn't talk about the childhood. It goes straight to the adulthood of the character. So now we're like early 20s, like pussy slaying Samson. Like he's got long hair like a rock star. And so he's Fabio. He's perfect. He's Fabio. Picture him like that. A little more matted and nasty. And a beard because you can't shave anywhere. And so he is
and no manscaping.
Yeah. And so he is
oh god.
He's trolling around this city of Timnah looking for Strange. And he comes across this lady and he's totally infatuated with her. He fucking loves her. And so he goes back, but she's a Philistine. That's the problem. She's not Jewish. She's a Philistine. And they are very much in competition with each other right now, these two tribes. And the Philistines are much stronger and larger. And so it's not something you want to tango with. And so he goes back to his family and he goes, hey, I found this woman. I want her as my wife. So I need you to go there and get her for me. Because that was back when women were treated appropriately as property instead of like having to pretend to care about what they say. And so now they go, the dad goes, Oy vey, son, you're going to go and find someone who's not Jewish? My goodness. No, there's plenty of good women right around here. Look at Rachel. And he goes, Rachel, she looks like a fucking sundial with that schnoz. No, I'm not going for Rachel. I'm going for that Philistine woman, that sexy bitch right over there. And so the dad goes, okay, yeah, I'll back that. He goes back to the family on the way. Goes back to the woman's family he's interested in order to relay to her that, all right, wedding's on. And on the way, he's by himself. A lion leaps out of the brush, comes to attack him. The Lord imbues him with, that strength that he has from his hair, and he tears the lion apart. Like the way you would a goat was the example in the Bible, which apparently is like, you ready for goat? Like, no. And so he tore the lion apart, left it there. And miraculously, like, if I killed a lion, that would be in my Tinder bio, that would be in my Twitter bio, that would be my permanent Facebook status, it would be on my resume. Everyone would know. He didn't tell anyone. And it was weird because he was a braggadocious fella. And he continues on, tells his woman, hey, wedding's on. I got to go back to my people, grab my posse, my friends, family, and then we'll meet you back here, have the whole shindig. So he heads back, grabs his family, and as they're moving back towards the wedding party, which is they're going to the woman's place in the Philistinian territory. I don't know what it would be called. And on the way back, they see that same lion carcass. And the lion carcass is decomposed a bit. And there are bees swarming all around it. And so Samson, in what it can only be described as an insane person's maneuver, goes over to the hollowed out carcass of this lion where the bees are, dips his hands into the carcass, and retrieves 2 big old handfuls of honey. And so the rest of the walk there, he's eating honey out of his hands on the way to his own wedding. And to set the stage, this is a man who lives in the year 1, who has never showered. He has never been allowed to cut a hair from his head, and he's eating honey out of his hands on the way to his wedding. There's never been a stickier human being in history than Samson on this walk. It's like, it's not bad enough that you have, I lived 500 years before Christ shits every day. You're going to eat 2 handfuls of honey on the way to your wedding? You goddamn maniac. And so he eats his honey. It's disgusting and sticky by the time he gets there. They get there, though, and it goes off without a hitch for the most part. Like, Samson's dad was, like, pissed because he was like, you're going to associate with these uncircumcised folks? But Samson, like, convinced him. He's like, Dad, believe it or not, it never crossed the minds of these savages to bring a sharp stone to the genitals of young boys. It's like, that's horrific. It's terrible. It's like, I'll get over it, And so they get over it, and they have the wedding. It's a nice little occasion. And after the wedding, they're all sitting around in a powwow. And Samson goes to the relatives of his wife, the Philistines, and goes, hey, I'll tell you a riddle. And if you can riddle me that, I'll give you 30 outfits of linen. If you can't figure it out, though, you got to give me 30 outfits of linen. And they're like, seems like a pretty reasonable thing. All right, let's do it. And so he tells the riddle of, and I read it, out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet. Now, obviously, this was him talking about out of the eater, the lion, honey comes, that's sweet, and out of the lion, something strong, something sweet, like that kind of shit. But it's cheating. You can't make a riddle based on an experience that only you know about and then expect people to understand. Like, that's like the self-actualization of a 2-year-old, where you think if you saw something, everybody's seen it. And everybody will get it. Like, that's retardation. So my contention is that he was cheating.
Okay.
Yeah, he was cheating from the start, is my contention. Samson was. He was giving a riddle in bad faith.
It's like playing peekaboo and covering your own eyes.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Woody, I've got an interesting riddle about my 7th grade birthday party. Now, no one needed the details or the tendrils going out that'll give you hints. Like, it's not fair. And so he gives this riddle, and nobody can figure it out because they weren't there. And so, like, 2 days later, the family of the woman go, hey, you got to get this fucking riddle, because I don't know if you've looked around, but we're not exactly running a fucking courtyard Marriott. We don't have linen to hand out. Like we took this assuming we know the riddle. We're pretty good riddlers, but we don't have any linen. We're going to be humiliated and embarrassed, and we're not really on friendly terms with the rest of their tribe, just this family now. And so she goes, okay, I'll go do it. And so for the next 5 days, the word nag is used in the Bible. She nags and cries and bitches for so many days in a row that eventually Samson on the last day goes, yeah, okay, the answer is the lion. The answer is the lion and honey inside it, okay? Please, oh my God, week one of our marriage. Golly, I should have listened to my parents, you dumb whore. And he's furious. And 20 minutes later, she leaves. 20 minutes later, all the Philistines come back and they're like, Samson, we figured out your riddle. And he's like, did you? Did you figure out my riddle? What is it? And so they told him, what is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than lion? Which apparently was the 2 questions that aren't a riddle, or the answer to a riddle that was 2 questions that weren't. Nah.
It's Jeopardy.
These ancient people didn't understand what riddles were.
He answered the question. Anyway.
Yeah. And so they give him that, and he goes, cheated. You cheated. I just gave my wife that answer, and she went and gave it to you. And so Samson stood up calmly, and then he murdered 30 people. With his bare hands, he went around the camp, and he murdered 30 people, and then he left, saying, someday I'll get my vengeance. So at this point, Samson is a terrorist at this point. He does not take kindly to those other folks. And so from there,
Samson is Jewish. Home. He killed the terrorists. Correction.
Yeah. He spends some time like mulling his own shit over in the desert or whatever while everybody else goes back. He eventually returns home and goes to his dad. Hey, I want to talk to my wife. He goes, your wife? That Philistine woman who lied to you and you killed 30 of her family members? No. And when I was leaving, I said I gave her to someone else. Like, no, that's not your wife anymore. And Samson goes, God, fucking bullshit. Well, then I definitely need to get my vengeance. She's dead to me. And so he does what any sane person would do. He's got to get vengeance on these Philistines. They're stronger. They're more powerful. What do you do? What you do is you go into the woods and you catch 300 foxes. 300 foxes. Have you ever tried to catch one fox? It's fucking impossible. You're not going to catch 300 foxes. It's insanity. And so he catches 300 foxes. And then he does another sane thing. He takes them 2 by 2 and ties their tails together. And then once he has 150 paired off fox pairings, very hard to manage. He puts torches in the night and ties those into the tails and lights them and releases them all over Philistine territory and all of their crops. And so the next morning when they wake up, they're like, there's a lot of burned foxes and no crops left. And there's a torch in all the foxes' tails. And this is very methodically done. A serial killer is in our midst. Is this that terrorist Samson? Is this that terrorist Samson that we're all so scared of all the time with the strength of 10 men and the temperament of a 1-year-old? Like, is this the man? And so they're terrified of Samson because he just destroyed everything. And so the Philistines go back and they go, they go to the woman that he initially married, the Philistine woman and her father. And they're so mad, they just burn them too, probably with the last remaining pair of foxes running around. And they burn those 2 to death. And then, I'm trying to remember what happened here, sorry. It's so in-depth.
You couldn't.
Oh, yeah, I remember. No. Now, yeah, you couldn't just throw torches.
No, he had to tie.
You didn't want to throw a torch when you could swing 2 foxes around like a madman and hurl them. But and after he did this, after he did all the fox shenanigans, he went and retreated into a cave in the wilderness and just hung out there. And so after that, all the Philistines, like a few thousand of them, are like, "This is horse shit. We are marching to the Jewish camp of Judea, and we're going to make them give us Samson." So they march over there and they go, where the fuck is Samson? He just tied a bunch of hundreds of foxes together and burned our crops down after killing 30 of us for cheating on a cheat. riddle of his.
Mhm.
And they go, we don't know where he is. Frankly, we'd be happy if you caught him. He's causing a lot of mischief, and he's not reflecting well. He's terrible PR. We're a very small tribe, and he's causing a lot of mischief out there, and people keep coming up to us. And they go, okay, well, we believe you. We're going to search anyway. They search. They go, all right, we totally believe you, but we're way stronger than you. So while we're here, we're just going to conquer you. And they're like, fuck, we should have seen that coming. And so they got conquered right there too. And so then 1,000 Jews from Judea go to that cave, and they go to Samson and they go, we got to turn you in. And Samson's like, you couldn't turn me in if you wanted to, but here, how about this? You tie me up and you bring me back there to those thousands of guys, and you say, we got him. We got the guy for you. He's right here. And then I'll burst out of there. And then they go, yo, dude, that's an incredible idea. And then like Noah, you can throw him a sword. And Ezekiel, you can throw him a shield. And Samson goes, no, I'll use the jaw of an ass. And then they all go, yeah, whatever you want to do, man. Just remember, like, we're on your team. And he goes, yeah, jaw of an ass. This is a good idea. And so they take him over there, bound up, and they get him close enough to the Philistines, and they go, here he is. And he gets close, and he bursts out with his ass bone jaw and smashes 1,000 of them to death. 1,000 people he murders with the jawbone of an ass.
Well, he was right.
1,000. Yeah. And as they're watching it, Ezekiel's like, well, we appear quite the fools. he really didn't need the sword and shield. And so after he's finished massacring 1,000 people dripping with blood, not like in movies like Braveheart or Predator where there's like drips of their own blood a little bit. I mean like half a second after you get out of the pool, that level of drippage in blood, there's a snail trail of all blood types smeared around this land. And he comes back up to them, and all the Jews are like, frankly, Samson, half an hour ago, we were ready to turn you in. Never before has there been such a political turn in an environment. Raise your hand if you don't want Samson to be in charge. Everyone wants you to be in charge, Samson. And so Samson, dripping with blood, decides he's going to be in charge. And so after that, though, he decides he needs a little more, just a touch more vengeance.
Jesus Christ. All they did was cheat on a riddle, for fuck's sake.
Dude, that's all throughout the Old Testament. They'll be like, and someone of the Ammonites stole a goat. And the Jewish Old Testament God is like, and he smout 50,000 of them for it. It's insane. But it now gets to the point that people are more familiar with. Samson and Delilah. So a little more time passes, and he falls head over heels for this lady Delilah, and she's a fox. Like they were like back in the day, they were the Brangelina of the day, and so it wasn't like a relationship. Everybody fucking knew Samson was plugging Delilah, and so the Philistines go to Delilah and are like, "Hey, you got to give us info on how he gets his strength, because we got to get rid of this. We're rightly looking for vengeance here. We've lost thousands of people to this madman. Look at that. We don't know where he is. We're whispering right now. He's terrifying." And so they basically convince her to be on like a little secret agent. And so she goes to him one night after they bang, and she goes, "Samson, what gives you all your strength?" And he goes, "Well, if they'd only known to tie my hands with 7 unused bowstrings, they would have never had that problem. I would have been as weak as any other man." And so during the night, she tied his hands with 4 unused bowstrings, woke up to, or 7, I'm sorry. 7 unused bowstrings, and the Philistines are there waiting, ready, anticipating picking him up, and he wakes up, bursts out, and murders a dozen or so of them. This time in self-defense, fair enough. Yeah. And then I guess they go back to bed being like, why I oughta, to Delilah. And the next day, he tells her this rinse and repeat. Why would you lie to me last night? And he doesn't ask, why'd you try to have me murdered and captured? He just goes with it because he's an idiot. And he goes, all right, well, if you use like brand new rope, that'll get me. They've only ever used rope on me. That's why I can burst out. And so they do that. Once again, bursts out, and the 12 anticipating and terrified Philistines are
They're like, we know what happens here, guys. We didn't want to be here.
Oh, we're group 2? It's always group 3 or 4 that gets them.
We saw what you did just now. I don't.
Oh.
The bodies are still here.
Samson, I told you to move them. And so he murders all of them. Then I guess Delilah once again gets off scot-free. The next day he tells her, if you braid my hair in this way, I'll be helpless. So she does that. The third group of a dozen or so Philistines stand up. He's like, I'm not even tied up this time. Wah, 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 wah. And it beats the shit out of him, kills him. And then finally she badgers him enough that he goes, my hair is the source of my strength. If you cut it off, I got nothing. Jesus Christ, will you shut the fuck up? Like Samson has terrible choice in women, but it's good to see some things never change. So the next day he's sleeping, or next evening he's sleeping. She snips his hair off. Then the Philistines come in, and he stands up to fight him, and he's just a normal dude now. He doesn't have his superpowers. God said, I'm only interested in lustrous locks. You know, that's all I'm in for. And so they come in, they pin him down, they immediately gouge his eyes out and blind him. And so he can't be a threat anymore. And then they drag him off and they give Delilah all sorts of sweets and spoils. And so then they take him blind and beaten and a regular man, and they put him on a grain mill where you're just like what they would use donkeys for. Like you're just pushing this thing around and around and around. And he does that for months. And I guess everybody forgot. Let's give this guy regular haircuts. Because a couple months later, there's a big Philistine celebration, much similar to when we caught Bin Laden. like everybody's like, yeah, we got him, yeah. Like they're all in this big, beautiful building. All the Philistines. There's 3,000 people on the roof, and all the elites underneath. And they say, "Bring out Samson! Bring him out! Bring out this murderer!" And they're jeering at him because everyone there has someone they know who's been murdered by this animal. And they put him up there, they throw stuff at him, and they go, get out of here. And he collapses. You know, his hair's gotten a little longer, though. And he stands up, still blind, and he goes, please let me lean up against a pillar. And so they put him up against a pillar to lean there. And he summons God and says, God, with my last act, please let me bring this down upon the Philistines. And so he puts one hand on one pillar, one hand on the other, and he uses his last bit of strength and collapses it and murders another 5,000 Philistines with his final breath.
Well,
and this is the story that I used to guide my entire life. In the words of Kyle. Yeah.
Seems just.
Yeah. Tucker wasn't a believer before that story.
No,
but now,
the first 5 minutes of that story, I was like, I'm bored. And then Samson, he really just kept going, huh?
I wonder if after about 7,000 murders, if he felt like he had gotten revenge for them cheating on the riddle yet.
I can't believe somebody would cheat on this riddle. Yeah, if there was ever a time to think, man, the Bible is what a wonderful story that could be animated and made into. It's now. I want to see an animated Bible series.
That and Job.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Oh, was it?
It was a movie, a live action movie. I saw it.
I don't want a live action.
I don't remember it quite like that.
I want
Old
Testament
that one took
animations.
so long, but I wanted to start from the birth.
You made up for it. You made up for it. It really came to fruition. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, and I hope you learned something.
I mean, I knew Samson is strong ass dude and killed a lot of people, but I was unaware that he literally slaughtered thousands of people with the jaw of an ass, which is just not like out of all of the weapons that you could kill people with. That's wouldn't you get tired around 200, 250? You're like, damn, I got 750 more of these.
Yeah, it wasn't just physical strength. It was like that hair was given cardio points for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
100%.
I don't know what life lesson I'm supposed to take from that, but my wife cheated in Uno one time, and I feel like I've got some killing to do.
Kill her family!
But did you murder all of her Facebook friends?
Yeah, that's really
not yet.
But but after that, to really good at, you got to murder the friends and people you may know of their friends.
She's not on Facebook. I'm
like the suggested follows on Twitter. You got to get them.
I'm glad you brought that up. Maybe yeah, body modification. All right, I want to talk about ancient body modification. Maybe Wendigoon's ever had some of his creepy ass.
He's an expert. He mentioned before.
Because one of those things I saw was that I think it's that South American tribe that would practice the skull elongation, where they wrap the baby skulls, and you can see photographs of babies that have had it done, and their eyes are bulging. But what they end up with is these skulls that have been found down there, and they look like X-Files aliens. Okay, like legitimately, and they're real. They're human skulls that through that practice have been made to look like this. Now, here's what all of the ancient alien people always go to. They don't say those are alien babies, because of course we can DNA test them, or maybe, the rest of it's biologically human, whatever. They say, why were they doing that? Why did they want to look like that? Who were they trying to emulate? Maybe there was some sort of alien overlords that were coming down, teaching them agriculture and animal domestication. The beginning of the skill tree and Sith, pottery, and they had these big heads, and they were like, if only we could look like the gods. Because imagine, if you will, because in Christianity and all of the Abrahamic religions, right, like God looks like us. It's a key part of it. It's right there in the beginning somewhere. If your God didn't look like you, it is.
We are made in his image. Yeah.
Imagine if God didn't look like us.
Is that a real one? No.
I don't think. No, that's not a real one.
Beavis and Butthead's jaw.
Well, I don't know what Zach's trying to do to me here, but there are real skulls. I don't know. Why don't you pull up that X-Files alien autopsy footage from the 90s too?
You know what's funny? It's like, Kyle, I was putting like stock into what you were saying, and like this image, like really
that just undermined your story.
God damn it, Zach!
You think it was some alien emulation of? I was thinking like,
I don't think that at all. No. I'm just saying, like, I've often watched those shows where that's their pitch. Like, hey, this is why they did it, because they want to tie everything that's a little peculiar in the past to aliens, right? And if you can like rope that one in to make that sort of a supporting argument for whatever other kooky shit you've got, like chariots in the Bible being spaceships or whatever, like that's a good one to start with.
For sure. The Bible talks about, Wendigoon absolutely knows more about this, but like, you're familiar with like the Nephilim and all of that.
Oh, am I?
I would
some
love
audience members who haven't heard of it. Can you bring them up to speed?
Yeah. So, all right, 5 minutes out the gate, we're in my zone. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
So in the Bible, there's mentions of things called Nephilim, which also often translates to giants or mighty men. And they're mentioned in the book of Genesis as being the children of what happened when the sons of God mingled with the daughters of men. So some people think this to be the idea of righteous people with unrighteous people, but some take that literally and think it's the products of angels breeding with humans. There's mentions of angels coming down to earth, so a lot of people draw that out of it. See, they got Kyle. It was
You're dangerous. I'm gonna keep the head on his
yeah, Taylor's next, don't worry. Anyway, so giants are mentioned in the Bible. There's some famous ones like Goliath, for example. There's a giant that I believe it was Noah faced giants in his age. So there's a few places that they're mentioned specifically, but there's this idea throughout the Old Testament that they were a reoccurring thing. Like when it ever talks about they go to Canaan, that they see giants in the land of milk and honey that they have to wipe out. There's giants among the Philistines, what have you. So the idea is there's this biblical record of giants, and there's also a record of giants throughout other written histories. Like pretty much every group of people either had a legend or history of giants somewhere in their culture. They tend to pop up around the historical record. And the idea is, since the Bible is the oldest, in my opinion, the oldest, debated between that and like Zoroastrianism as being the oldest religion ever, that it's the first evidence of giants existing. And in the Bible, they're called Nephilim. So yes, Nephilim are like the starting route for a ton of crazy.
I'm sorry to interject. Theories. We had a guest like 2 months ago arguing with me, telling me that Zoroastrianism wasn't the first religion. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I watched that episode.
I do remember that.
That was Aiden. That was Aiden. Yeah.
I remember that became more of an argument than I thought it would be. And I was just kind of like, oh damn, like now we're like getting heated over like demons and shit.
If it helps Kyle any, the theory that most people have, like myself, who believe that Christianity was, or like the Bible, Judaism at the time was first, is that Judaism and Zoroastrianism were simultaneous, that they kind of branched out at the same point in the historical record. Which I have my own theories that Zoroastrianism is mentioned in the Old Testament as being other religions that are mentioned around the time of Abraham, but blah, blah, blah. See what I mean? You got me in my zone.
No, that's interesting.
Well, I have been admiring.
Yeah, I
this,
like the stuff.
education since the start. I was like, it's cool when we have like a professional level guest on the show.
I like where I'm a Sunday
Needed.
school teacher. Like, you know, a lot of what I do is talking to, you know, people my age and stuff. They're like, oh, well, you know, Christ wants us to live this way, blah, blah, blah. But there's also a lot of, all right, kids, so I found this verse in Genesis. I think it means that aliens came to Israel, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I get to go on my whole rants and stuff. So
That's
So
fun.
the Bible is kind of exacting when they give the dimensions of something like the ark. Did they ever tell us about how tall these giants are supposed to be? Because that's so important.
yes, yeah, it does. Whenever it mentions Goliath, which is, there's times that it mentions giants who stand with their waist at the height of man. That's more general. Goliath is specifically mentioned as, I think, 9.5 feet tall.
Yeah, shit. Well, all right.
Like Robert Wadlow
What?
size.
Now,
did that
when you say
disappoint
9.5 feet, are you accounting for like their feet being tiny? Did they actually use their foot as a foot in that time? Because
the
to be fair, these
Hold on.
are poorly fed Jewish men.
That's true.
about 5,000 years ago.
Correct.
These are small fellas.
Well, I think they
These
used the measurement
measurements-
from your elbow to your wrist or something like that.
They,
called,
they use
Fine.
they
That's what
use
a
the
foot
measurement
is?
of cubits. They
Cubit.
use the measurement of cubits. If I remember, it says that he was 6 cubits and a span, which a cubit's about 1.5 feet. So that comes out to a little over 9.5 feet.
Yeah,
6
see,
cubits
see
and a
that's
span.
that's the problem. So like, obviously, there you're dealing with some exaggeration because like I don't believe that in that time, even with like a pituitary thing or whatever makes people gigantic, that he'd have like the diet capable of surviving to manhood and being a 9 foot tall being.
No, you know what would
I mean?
be funny is like if like that's entirely true, but Goliath was one of those pituitary giants. And so he went out to fight David, and they're like, "There he is, the giant," and he has like crutches. He's like, "Oh, look at that beast!" And they just bully him with a stone. We were gonna see if you guys had any medical intervention for him. God, don't kill him.
Old school.
Do you know about the
spacing was
Do you
just
know about the
bullying
Potsdam
Goliath.
giants?
That sounds familiar. The
So it's a
Potsdam Giants.
It was a Prussian infantry unit in like 1675. All right. Now, I can't remember if it was like the Prince of Prussia or whatever, the guy in charge, or at least in charge enough that he could have his own military unit at his whim, selected only the tallest men in the whole fucking Prussian Empire. Yeah.
Stupid question. Where is the tech tree in 1685? Like,
They got like shitty guns,
You're
like
early Imperial
Old
Age.
muskets,
You have access to
flintlocks, like
trebuchets.
flintlock stuff. Yeah.
shitty guns. There'd be a lot of cavalry and still like armor, I would imagine, and like silly hats with points on them, and probably lots, swords and pikes and shit.
swords, pikes, and the occasional.
We're
flintlock.
100 years from the American Revolution, and like guns being that good.
Yeah, they were like, that's
So-
the time they were figuring out, like, we got to phase out armor because we're now making like muskets that can blast through stuff.
Well,
How
anyway,
does go ahead.
this guy who I think was probably gay was like fascinated with tall men. Okay, it was like his jam. So he like searches the kingdom, and
What's
there's
gay
this
about
quote,
that?
There's this quote from him.
Hey, watch your mouth.
There's this great quote, and he's
You
like,
knew which
Wow, you
subreddits
can't have
I
a harem
followed.
of tall men, or it's gay.
That's exactly. He's got this great quote. I want Zach to find it. Well, I've given some context clues to his identity. I just can't remember the fucking Prince of Prussia's name. But he said something like, "Keep your this, keep your that. Give me a tall man."
You may be onto something.
But he was like, this would be a good video, I think, because like this regiment apparently was really tall guys, because he searched the whole like country and and he even had a breeding program where he was trying to like pair up the tallest women and the tallest men to make an even taller regiment. He never used them in battle because he was so beloved. They were so beloved.
What
to him.
on earth?
I'm looking at his Wikipedia. The height of the king who organized this, 5'3". And so imagine how monstrous this battalion, and apparently the minimum height was 6'2", which back then is enormous. Like,
Yes.
today,
400
years
is usually
ago,
the tallest guy in a room.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like if you're 6'2", 400 years ago, like you're probably starting conversations walking.
I
by.
bet
he would
find us the
retain
average
them-
height for the time, Zach, because that's important. But I would guess that you're like Harley, essentially. Like you're like a 6'5", 6'6" guy. Like Everybody's like, "Oh
7
shit, one of them are here."
Yeah. Yeah. Like they'd think there's something like wrong with you, or they'd be just like jealous of like, wow, that guy gets to eat every day.
No, it'd be hard to be like again. I think it would be. There's a reason people used to be smaller, and because it didn't work to be big. Like a big man can't like work. Or if you're 5'5", you do a day's work. That gives you enough grain to support your 5'5" body or whatever from the boss. I just don't think the 6'6" guy can do enough work to get him enough grain to like make up the difference. You know what I mean? He's not working hard enough to get enough grain more than the other guy. We're all getting fed the same.
I wonder if we got shorter after agriculture. Is that something I made like when we like that people were taller? That like some hunter, or maybe this is like some other thing. They found like hunter-gatherer tribes that are pretty tall because they ate like so much meat, like Neanderthal, or I guess Neanderthals are like a kind of a different thing.
Giants.
Yeah, it was the
circles
Nephilim.
back in. Yeah, there you go.
It all circles back in.
Does that mean the angels are black?
No.
What?
Angels
Where
are
did that go?
it's a total misconception that angels are even people, man. You've read
I
the
know that.
Bible. You've seen the orb of eyes.
I had to make
and
a black
horror.
joke.
The
Athleticism.
Of course.
I know it's not theologically correct.
No, see, that's not canon.
the ophonym, right? The
Canon.
giant
Oh, I love
swirling
calling
rings
the
with
Bible
eyes.
canon.
Yeah, it's not canon. Dude, I can make a million
found-
theories about something that will never happen within the window of human
Yeah,
existence.
make one.
Yeah, actually, the black holes are gaining energy, Mr. Hawking, and it's called Taylor radiation.
You know, when is it you've hit the peak of your bell curve, or maybe just maybe you even do want to enjoy the downslide a little bit, but not all of it, not the tail end.
It depends, you know. Like I think everybody's got a different bell curve. Some people peak, you know, toward the end. I would argue that like William Shatner's like 90 or how old is he? Like 99 or something stupid. Like he went to space last year.
I'll find out.
That's got to be pretty cool. Well, that's because that billionaire sprayed alcohol on him, and all he could ponder was his dead wife who was killed by a drunk driver and the infiniteness of space and how alone we are.
He's 92.
I think it was the infinite abyss of space
The
where he's
first
like,
thing couldn't
oh
help.
my God, I'm so close to the end. Like going to space at 99, bad
92.
move. 92.
Well, he's 92 now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did he say about space? That it was depressing. That it was just boring?
Something
Like
about
there's
the emptiness.
nothing.
Boring.
It's empty. There's nothing out here. There's nothing for us. It's just this world. That's it. Like that was kind of his takeaway.
It feels like he's right, doesn't it?
He's right.
Of course he's right. He's
all
right
the other
for,
planets suck. They're really just dog. If our solar system was a neighborhood, we're in the one nice house. The rest of it's trash.
The idea that we should take Mars and like colonize it as a backup planet in case we ruin this one. There's no universe in which Mars is a better starting point than Earth for humans.
Yeah,
for fixing things. Like I do like the idea, however, of like being somewhere else, even if it is shitty. You know, it's a storm shelter of a planet. Like maybe the Earth gets hit and like fucked up for a generation or two, but there's enough people underground living in some shit city on Mars that the Earth they're looking at satellite readings. The Earth seems to have stabilized. The oceans have receded. Let's fly back or something. Like maybe that. But Venus seems better for that. Whenever I hear them talk about Venus, they say
is
that
terrible.
No. So
the
up in
one?
yeah, if you're on the ground, it's
Mm-hmm.
like 900 degrees. It melts lead down there. But up high in the atmosphere, there's a layer in the atmosphere that you could kind of open the window and you wouldn't die instantly. There's like a level of atmosphere.
I'm sold.
You're really
Dude,
selling it.
this is his example of the best we've got.
There's a whole
if you're 30,000 feet up, you can briefly open a window and not immediately asphyxiate.
Hear me out. Well, I mean, Mars is worse.
I mean, you'll want to flush out all the sulfur and like I don't know.
No, you get out of the sulfur layer.
No, but Woody, you don't understand.
Layer.
Once we've excavated Mars and Venus in a way that far outpaces even what we've done on our own planet for our entire existence, it'll be smooth sailing, nice.
There's no terraforming. There's
what are we gonna do? Live in tents?
You would live in airships on Venus, is what the plan would be.
Well, then why not just live on a ship that's floating around the Earth?
Because you want to go to another planet and explore it, Taylor. Like you're the guy who stays home when Christopher Columbus takes off. Why don't you just stay here?
No,
Where
because
you
you could be
going?
the existence of islands and shit. They knew they would
Yeah,
find
Taylor,
something neat.
What kind of fucking Italian are you?
Not one.
Maybe
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to go to Venus or fucking Mars. Like maybe if it was like For All Mankind, that seems like a pretty decent Mars to go check out. They've got like porn and pussy and alcohol and rovers and shit. Like it seems like a good time.
They have
I
all
mean, you're
those
living
things.
it seems better than being an American nuclear submariner to me. Like you've
They're
got
glamping,
quarters.
basically. They're basically living as rough as somebody with a tow behind RV would live.
Mhm.
With high
Yeah.
stakes. High stakes, shitty living. You can't just pull over at a Buc-ee's. Like, you die.
Well, I mean, sure.
Yes.
So wrong. But all right. I get your point. But
What do you think, Chris? Are there any good planets, or do we need to take care of this one we're on, right?
Some would say. Yeah, honestly,
Some
just
would
keep moving
say.
inward. Just like Ben Shapiro said, you just sell your house if you live down on the coast, and everything will be fine. You
Yes.
just move up to Iowa.
To who? A fishery? Like
Yeah.
who's gonna buy my house that's gonna be under 8 meters of water?
I know, right? Like, yeah, honestly, that's why I like living in the Midwest, because I feel like I'm safe for now. Until the atmosphere catches on fire or whatever is going to happen when we are living on other planets. But yeah, that's what my plan is, to just stay put for now.
I think that's smart. And since we're Midwest boys, like we've got like a century lead time, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Like if New York starts going underwater, we got forever. That's their problem.
What is
Dude,
the
they were
altitude by you?
Until we're like
Do you have
Shatner
any
age at
idea?
least.
I don't know
sea
what the
level?
elevation is. I know I saw this graph of sea level, and we get fucked up by the Mississippi way faster than you would think. Like I guess that
Ooh.
big river
Oh.
getting out of control creates a lot of basins, but that's not. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to suddenly be in some weird archipelago water
No.
world.
Taylor, you're
No.
at 466 feet. Like I'm at 290. Like just because you're inland a lot doesn't mean you're right.
I don't know. I see that map. There's a lot of land. And that's how it works. No, you're right. Like when I started doing that graph, I'm like, yeah, we're
1,000 feet.
safe. And it's like, oh
I'm
no.
1,000 feet.
You're higher
What's
than
Northern
Taylor.
Illinois at?
I'm higher than either of you. It's 1,000 feet here in Atlanta.
And you're in Illinois. Okay, so
290.
Chris, you're gonna get fucked up by the Mississippi too, or the Great Lakes. I don't know how that would work.
Apparently, Stephen Hawking's dick got hard and worked.
That dog.
That
Investigative
fucking
journalism at its best.
monster. Yes, that monster. He was using his crippled penis on all those poor victims.
Yeah, I guess he probably needed a guy to help him get laid.
I mean, he just
Really?
Yeah,
You think he's got the Riz? He types into his fucking ColecoVision. Yeah, baby, you look stunning.
Dude, every woman wants to fuck a light bright, and that's exactly what he is.
Poor guy.
You just make him festive. Yeah, that's.
If we
that
get
guy
a
must have
great
been-
mind like Stephen Hawking, isn't it worth
Was
it
he even
to-
smart? What was he up to? What
I've
was
heard.
he really figuring out? I bet there were real scientists. I bet he was a Steve Jobs. I bet there were
Didn't
real
he
scientists
figure out
behind the
that
scenes giving
radiation
him.
escaped from black holes? And that
Hawking
meant-
radiation? They named
Yeah.
it after the man.
Yeah,
Nah,
and
because
that
he's a
means
fucking
that black
top
holes
guy.
will eventually shrink and just like dissipate. Instead of just collecting,
They're losing energy.
infinitely,
Yeah.
they're losing energy and giving it back out, and they'll eventually go away.
Dude, I can make a million
found-
theories about something that will never happen within the window of human
Yeah,
existence.
make one.
Yeah, actually, the black holes are gaining energy, Mr. Hawking, and it's called Taylor radiation. You dumb head retard, you fucking legless dumbass. Oh, and you can't test it because it's a billion jillion miles away, and it's dark matter.
You think you're so smart? Well, let's arm wrestle. See who's
Yeah,
right.
you think you're so smart? I'll beat the shit out of you. I would have held him in the
Rip your
surf.
shirt off.
I would have held his limp body in the surf at St. James Island and bullied him. And I would have been like, hey, where are the real scientists, you fucking Steve Jobs piece of shit? You didn't come up with anything.
Poor
Is
Mr.
that right,
Hawking.
Stephen Hawking? The good news is you're here at St. James Island. You're
He's
about to
probably-
get fucked. The bad
probably
news
a-
is it's Taylor.
What if he was part of the offering there? Where
Right?
it was like some rich sheik, and they're like, "We have all these underage kids for you, and at your request, a crippled man from Manchester, born in the 30s."
You think she's soft? Where do you meet Stephen Hawking?
Wait till you meet
Guy
Stephen
has
Hawking.
no muscle mass at all.
Dude, he's the veal of partners. He's got no muscle mass, soft as can be.
47-year-old veal.
Yeah, covered in bed sores on his bony ass. You fuck Stephen Hawking. That guy sucks.
Hot take.
He's dead.
I'm glad.
All right, yeah. You're right. That guy sucked.
He did suck.
Make
You're
it
not making
past
any
tense.
points, Kyle.
I like Stephen Hawking. He was in an episode of Star Trek. It was pretty fun.
Really?
He always had a sense of humor. Yeah, there's a like Data goes into the holodeck and he's like, give me I want to talk to Einstein, Stephen Hawking, and I don't know, Socrates or somebody, Da Vinci, whatever. And they just bring Stephen Hawking in instead of getting an
Was
actor.
it next
So he's-
gen?
Yeah.
I don't remember it. That's like
Yeah,
saying I like Johnny Depp. He was in Walking Dead.
I think they play poker. They play poker. That's what it is. He's playing poker with Einstein, and Hawking has this little robo hand holding his cards up for him or whatever, and he's cracking jokes, of course, because apparently he has
Johnny
a sense of
Depp was in
humor.
Walking Dead. He played a decapitated head for just a few seconds.
Oh, that's neat. I had one of my girlfriend's friends was in. It was actually in the episode where Merle dies, if you remember back then.
Well, I don't remember exactly how it went down, but sure, I remember that.
Yeah, it was during the
Oh yeah, he
governor's
died
shit, and-
heroically in
Yeah,
an outpost of some sort. Yeah.
he I think the governor was about to kill all of our main characters, and maybe Merle shows up and was like, "No, you won't," or whatever, and like died trying. But she's in that scene because she's some girls have big eyes. She had some big eyes. She's just got these peepers, and when they put those contacts in there, there's like a muddy brownish yellow, and she goes, "Ah!" It was like, "Fuck, you're a really good zombie. This is great." Like I think
That's
like,
cool.
they were hanging out at Norman Reedus's bar, because Daryl has a bar down there where they film the stuff, and I think that they met like the casting director or somebody like that, and he was like, "Your eyes, madam," and ended up getting on the show. It was cool.
I used to work with a woman who had really big eyes, just like extraordinarily large. You could practically see the backside of them. And she told me that when she was a baby, they were all talking about how adorable she was because she had these big eyes. And I didn't say anything, but in my heart, I was like, they're not attractive at all. Why even bringing attention to those eyeballs? It's weird.
I feel like you're a head injury away from that thing popping out like a fucking dog. You ever see those little dogs? Its heads are head to eyeball ratio was off. It's like
bug-eyed. Was she
Like
bug-eyed?
pugs.
Yeah, she was bug-eyed and just like it was like her eyebrow. Is this part of your body called like a crown or something?
Brow.
It was too high. Brow, okay, and her, help me again, cheeks, upper cheeks were too low. It was just this huge pocket for her bug eyes that were too far forward, and it's just a lot.
There's this I don't know what you call it, syndrome, disease, whatever, that causes your eyes to like bulge. Not get bigger, I don't think, but maybe. But they bulge. To Barbara's, there's an actress. She's that curly-headed, like, is it Barbara Streisand?
Very old.
There's an actress who has it. She's in that movie with the baseball movie where they're fucking the old catcher and everything. Anyway, I think it's Barbara Streisand. But I had a makeup artist who had the same thing, and he was explaining to me that, like, yep, no cure. They just keep getting bigger and bigger and bulging more and more. And his eyes were like coming at you already. I was like, man,
That
they're gonna
sucks.
pop. Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
Always
think
looks
mine
like someone locked you in the depressurizing chamber in space. You're about to. There was a lunch lady who
it's
was
not
bug-eyed at
Streisand.
my middle school, and it kind of spooked me. I do remember that.
They
Yeah.
always get space depressurization wrong. I'm pretty sure we exist at like 1 psi or something.
No,
And then, go ahead. Do you know this better than me? I feel like if I opened the door to a spacecraft, no one would get sucked out. It would.
we
just
will
kind
not
of-
get sucked out. It will absolutely do exactly what. Oh, now I don't know about a door. That's going to be a whoosh, but like the same way in an airliner. But if there's like a pinhole, then you just stick your thumb over it. Like in Alien Resurrection, there's a part where they kill the alien by making a hole in the like glass window with some acid, and it like sucks the alien, spaghettifies it through that hole until it's disemboweled and sucked. Nothing like that. You stick your thumb right over it, like it's like a piece of gum, whatever. Because we're at like, I think one atmosphere is, I'm gonna get this wrong, 12 or 13 psi or something like that. it's a really fun experiment. You can take an aluminum can, put a little bit of liquid in it, grab it with some tongs, put it over your burner, get it boiling in there, so it's creating steam that's traveling up through it, and then upend it very quickly into a like a basin of water, so just so that the top is submerged, and you've created a vacuum inside of there because that steam was present, but now that it's cooled down, the steam's gone and a vacuum is inside there. So just the atmospheric pressure that we exist in here, that's pressing on us all the time that we don't notice, crushes the fuck out.
I believe you, but I would not qualify that as a very fun experiment.
You can do it to a 55-gallon drum though, and the whole drum goes.
That's pretty neat.
Tried that on
Really cool.
Mythbusters, and it didn't like. They had to like do a lot of extra work to get it to the tanker to crumple. It was I think it was a I don't know if it was like a Breaking Bad one that they did, but they were trying to like get a tanker to collapse on itself to like wherever the submarine like the implode.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to do a lot of extra work. They had to get like a really weak tanker because they just kept trying to like with steam pressurize this tanker to the point where it would just crumple on itself, and they had to do a whole bunch of extra stuff to get it to do it. But
you can do it with barrels, you can do it with cans. I think it is.
You know what? I have a neat experiment. Taylor might not call it very fun, but hear me out on this. You have a campfire and you have a bottle of water, right? This is a plastic bottle like you get at every gas station. If you put this bottle of water in the campfire, it won't melt. It doesn't burn. You would think it would. The water will boil, and the part that doesn't have water in it will go away. So it'll become like a cup. But as the water evaporates, the bottle drains. But the water only gets to 212 degrees. That's it. So it keeps the plastic cool enough that it doesn't like melt and spill out the bottom.
Ah, okay.
I've done it many times.
Now, Kyle, that's what you call real.
Yeah, Kyle, get on my level.
Okay, I was just crushing barrels with the power of the gravity that's sucking air down onto it.
Good noob.
Chris, hit us with a real fun experiment.
What kind of experiment do you do, Chris?
You came to the right guy.
Something about ghosts.
I used to light Q-tips on fire in my basement with petroleum jelly.
400 in a row, flammable. You know, we're learning.
And it just keeps on going. Everyone.
These Q-tip guys
still just as beautiful and entrancing as ever.
It was
My
either that or it was
dermatologist
like
fucking
lighting
loves
axe cans on
Vaseline.
fire in a ditch.
Yeah,
Every problem I bring to her, she solves with Vaseline. I'm like, not even like Neospore. This feels like 1930s technology.
Yeah.
She's like, it's never been beaten.
Little Windex, Vaseline, spigot and span, you're good to go. That's how you.
Wait, Windex and Vaseline? What are we doing?
Remember what was that fucking movie? I can't believe I remember this. My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Okay.
That was the movie where the Greek old lady was like, what do you do for like a cough? Windex. What do you do for, a rash? Windex. No matter what, little Windex on you, you're good to go.
Yes, it's vinegar.
In some places, it's butter. They put butter on everything. I don't know what culture that is, but it's
France.
It's the South.
It sounds southern.
Yeah, we were a Vaseline family, not a Windex family.
What would you use the
My mom
Vaseline
was,
for?
My mom used it for taking makeup off. And so we just had a giant tub of it in the bathroom. And then I, of course, would use it for science. Lighting Q-tips on fire.
Oh, I thought
that's about it.
I thought you meant jacking off.
You can't masturbate with Vaseline. Oh my god! What a
dude,
slow.
When you're 12, you're just when you're 12, you're just trying stuff, man.
You built some muscles jerking with Vaseline. That's too viscous.
I had something I wanted. So
I don't know
if you guys saw in our group chat, I sent that meme about DPH, diphenhydramine, the people who get fucked up on Benadryl.
Robo tripping.
No, robo tripping is different. So I learned that from the Benadryl one. So the DPH is the Benadryl one. DXM is robo trip. And I don't know the relationship between those two societies of upstanding individuals, but I was on the DPH one, which is diphenhydramine, people who abuse Benadryl. And we've said before that if you go on YouTube and you look up DPH trip story, it is nothing but people like telling you don't do this. It is a nightmare. It's a waking nightmare. It is horrible. I do not recommend this drug to people. And somehow they get like addicted to it and they do it all the time. It destroys your brain. It like what it does to your liver and your kidneys makes alcohol look like a health potion. apparently. Like, it's that fucking devastating to your body and your brain. You become demented. You get you get
Demented.
psychotic. You get demented. You adapt dementia over time, and you get fucking brain worms, and you fall apart.
Don't you see spiders and stuff?
You see spiders. So I found a story on there, and so what they say is that 700 milligrams of Benadryl is like a threshold of like, you're almost in Hat Man territory where you might see a shadowy man who wears a hat. They all consistently say the same fantasy or the same visions about this Hat Man. And this is a story. This guy took 4,000 milligrams, 4 grams of Benadryl, and he's telling this story. And so I'm going to read this. He says,
Thank you.
Stats, age 20. This is from a couple of years ago. Stats, age 28. Name, Steven. Occupation, Terra Steel Factory and Recycle. 145 pounds, 5'10". Education, high school diploma. Favorite movie, Cars 2. I'm 28. I work at a steel mill, and I have no college degree. You'll have to take my word for this because I don't post any personal information of myself. You just did. Anyway, here's what you came for, how the trip went. 11 a.m.-ish. Took 80 pink caps. Throat got tired of swallowing so many, so I almost puked. 11:30 a.m. Extreme fatigue set in. Believe me when I say it was physically difficult to move. Not the, oh, haha, I'm high, so couch locked, hee, but literal near paralysis. I could not walk. I put paste all over my mouth and throat, so dry mouth was intense, but no excruciating. That doesn't make sense.
Okay,
Noon.
so he did,
Yes.
prepared for the dry mouth that was to come with some sort of paste. That's
Yeah,
what he's saying.
some kind of paste. Thank you. At noon, at this point, everything went to shit. I was completely paralyzed, so I just gave up on trying to move. Everything was dreamlike, jumpy and flickery. On LSD, everything is relaxed and flowing. On DPH, everything is skittery like a low FPS video game. My bedroom
shit.
door swung open, and suddenly a black figure dashes in. It teleports in front of me and stares at me. Even though it's a silhouette with no eyes or face, I can feel a stare. There's no spiders, but thousands of black beads begin spinning around my wall. I can see a man in the hat, fully shadowed about 12 feet away. 6 minutes in, I'm not sure if this is reality or if I'm dreaming. I can't even check to see if my eyes are open or if they're closed. Can't move, just silently scream in horror as the entire room begins spinning 900 miles an hour with shadow people dancing about me. 12:25? The spinning of the room keeps getting faster and faster until I can feel myself vomiting, but the pain and sensation feels oddly distant. I can't describe it. It feels like someone else is vomiting through my body. It is horrific nonetheless. A shadow person then begins to choke me, and I feel like I'm being strangled for a good hour before everything goes black. Everything begins to fade to white. I realize I can move and walk around and that I'm not high anymore. Looking back, this was obviously a lucid dream while I was comatose. I can't really compare it to anything. Look up the SpongeBob episode SB29 when he's in a big white room and there's nothing that exists for the quickest comparison. I was in a completely white space, and the whole time it was just ambient random noises like whizzes, buzzes, growls, screams, voices whispering, lion roars, jet engines, streaking lights. The sensations felt like sandpaper was being rubbed on me, and I felt freezing. I can't put into words, but I felt like this was the longest part of the trip. My sense of time was so distorted, I believe I was in the white space longer than I've been alive. What was less than 1 day, legitimately, wholly, completely fucking felt like 6 years minimum. I have 6 to 10 years worth of auditory and visual memories from that day. 6 to 10 years of my life were forgotten and replaced with those random auditory noises, streaks, and sounds. Between 12:40 and 5 p.m., I don't know when the white space ended, but now I'm in the middle of the road. It's reality, not some surreal dream. I see a shadow man about 300 feet away, so I start running. I chase and chase, but he never gets closer. Eventually, I stop out of tiredness, and suddenly the sky opens up, and a gigantic black mouth swallows me whole. What happened next is I'm on Reddit, looking at Reddit. No joke. I can see my own body. Or no, I can't see my own body. I just see a giant page that displays Reddit. I scroll through all the pages, and all the titles and comments make no sense. Like, Trump reveals the truth about reveals the reveal. Like, eventually the screen fades and I can vomit again. I can feel it, but don't see it. Between 5 and 8, maybe, pure blackness and pain. All I can say. Every part of my body hurts more than it ever has. The phrase splitting headache can't describe it. It feels like there's a hot coal in my ears. I still can't move. I'm knocked out. The hallucinations are just streaks and flickers now. 8 to 12 p.m. the next day. Lots of buzzing noises. Felt like I was covered by a swarm of bees that were constantly vibrating. Some point during this stage, I woke up in a puddle of sweat and pink vomit. I tried to get up, but everything exploded into beads and swirls, and I felt a stabbing pain in my back.
Oh.
After about 1 hour of chilling, I managed to find my phone and call 911 saying I OD'd. 2 a.m. At the hospital, they pumped my stomach and Narcaned me even though I don't do heroin. Woke up later, not too big an ordeal, but I managed to spin it off as an accident and avoided the mental hospital. I go for dialysis weekly now. Aftermath, I quit my job for this trip and I'm still unemployed. No insurance, but I got Obamacare, which covered part of it. I am on dialysis and have permanent liver damage, permanent brain damage, and cognitive reduction, reduced brain size, irregular heartbeat. For the rest of his life because he took 4,000 milligrams of Benadryl for not even a good high. I can't.
All right. No, not just for not even a good high, for the most terrifying experience that I can imagine. That sounded so horrific, and the fact that he has to deal with. I thought it was going to have a happy ending. Like, no, I thought he was going to be like. I thought it was to be like, and never again. And that's why, kids, I'll never do that again. But it's like, now he's retarded. Now,
sucks.
I mean, he probably should do it again. Maybe it'll like send him back the other way.
He's more likely to do it now. Yeah. It's like eating your way to the other side, like John Bennett used to say.
He should have done 5,000 milligrams. That's the correct 4,000.
The problem is he didn't commit. If you're going to do Benadryl, do it.
Yeah, do a solid 10 grams.
I've every so often now, I just get a thought and I go to the DPH subreddit and I try and figure out what's driving these people, and you can't get an answer. They'll be what made you, people will ask, what made you do this in the first place? And they'll be like, don't even consider it. And it's like, and apparently, from realistically, from what I can tell, it's mostly super young kids, like teenagers who want to get fucked up on something and don't realize how much damage they're doing with these.
So the problem is pot's illegal.
They just legalize weed, guys. Jesus.
And a bigger problem is we make every drug out to be the equally awful for us. Mm-hmm. No one stops and says, "Look, marijuana will make you lazy, and you might eat too many Doritos and miss class. It could ruin years of your life, even." But instead of saying that, they're like, "It's the devil." So is robo-tripping and heroin and prostitution. Don't sell yourself to old men. It's all the same. It's dude, do all the drugs you want, but please never robo-trip. You'll see the Hat Man. It'll ruin your body. You know what dialysis is?
You won't
like. So don't accidentally take 100 Benadryl.
No one accidentally take.
Don't accidentally buy 5 bottles of Benadryl and eat all of them.
You say it was 80 caps?
80 caps.
80, so 4,000 milligrams.
His throat was tired of swallowing. Now, I mean, it sounds like he would be a great tester for lock and load.
He can take any amount of pills.
As a swallow master, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, this was 2 years ago. This guy could be dead if he tangoed with the Benadryl devil again. The memes in this subreddit, usually memes about things you don't understand at all aren't that funny because you don't understand the reference point. But the way they do the virgin and the Chad, where it'll be the virgin LSD user, soy facing, seeing pleasant things, and then the Chad deliriant user seeing horrifying static Hatman and images and spy. It seems and something I started it's called a deliriant. That's the class of drug it's in, a deliriant hallucinogen. And so apparently I've never done LSD, but the way it was explained online is they're so LSD, it works you into it. You kind of you feel a gradualness of the increase on the up, and there's an ability for you to ascertain, I know that's not real. I know I'm seeing this, but I know this isn't fully real, at least most of the time, apparently. Whereas with deliriants, like diphenhydramine, they say that the hallucinations are unbelievably fast, sudden, and concrete. So you won't be able to tell if that thing that just appeared is real or not, because in addition to you hallucinating, you're delirious. You're not registering things. You're not understanding. These people, they'll say they will smoke phantom cigarettes. They'll be smoking a cigarette. They'll be like, yeah, I was smoking a cigarette for 20 minutes. Look down, nothing was in my hand. One guy said I played Clash of Clans on my phone for an hour, And then I looked back down. My phone was not there. It was upstairs. Like, and so they're just totally whole
that sounds
cloth inventing
horrific.
reality. They're like,
it.
and you'll hear voices of your loved ones, but they're not being encouraging. They're being horrible to you, like ripping on you, insulting you. And after that, you can look forward
it
to
keeps
seeing
getting
that.
better.
It's no, at no part are they like, and then just like the end of a warhead, the payoff. Like, no. And then the payoff is you can't remember how little fun you had because you have dementia. Like, apparently.
That sounds dreadful.
The worst drug. Just
You-
take
Not a
it for
fan.
allergies.
You sent those memes of like, I don't know, spiders crawling on people and really like uncomfortable to look at things, and I was just like, what the fuck is he sending me? It's like 2 a.m. All these spiders crawling on people's hands and shit. And it was like a starter pack for like robo tripping or whatever this is called again, like DPHing. What are they? Remember in South Park when they were cheesing? They're spraying the cat piss and going to that other realm. Dude, that drug sounds so gross. Would you rather do this or crocodile?
You can do crocodile once and be okay, probably, right?
Can you do this once and be okay?
I
It
mean,
seems like if you do it big, you're fucked the first time.
Don't do it big. Do like 700 and leave it at that.
it's still
Don't
so
do so.
much.
That's probably too much.
Well, that guy did 4,000.
Yeah.
And he's 145 pounds. That to me stuck right out at the beginning. I was like,
Oh, you're probably right.
a
I bet it does have weight.
145-pound man took 4 grams. Okay, bro. I'm still watching that Dan Carlin thing, the Supernova in the East, about the Japanese in World War II, and it's so fucking good. I'm like, I feel
Is
like
it making you like the Japanese more?
Oh, it makes me despise them.
Hating them?
It makes me despise those scummy pieces of shit. Oh, they're awful. The Australians were hardcore. They were, I think they're maybe on Guadalcanal or one of the big islands. Lots of Australians. They've been stuck there for a long time, not much food. And the Australians just got so good, they stopped losing men almost. And they got so good at killing. And they're talking about they came upon one of their guys. They've been tortured. And there's a sign above their guy that said he took a long time to die. And it's like, this enraged the Australians. They went on a killing spree. It's just like, it's great. They find their guy like bent over with had been raped and with a bayonet up his ass. He's dead. And, like so after a while, there was no taking of prisoners at all, or even considering the taking of prisoners, or even messing with a body. They considered the dead bodies to be like zombies. They might get back up because they'd often play dead. They'd often be like one guy out there with a grenade under him, ready to pop up and take you with them.
I don't. That doesn't seem very honorable.
It's super honorable if you can take a Marine down with you. But it makes me hate the Japanese, just despise them. Like the Battle of Midway is just one of the coolest stories ever. Basically, the Japanese show up with their 4 carriers, 4 aircraft carriers, and like a huge navy, and we're there with I think 3, and one of them's fucked up already. It's already damaged from maybe a previous battle, and they're bombing land with their carriers when they spot our carriers. And so their guy has a decision, because it's a big deal to switch from land to air bombing and get the refueling done. And so he decides to take all of the guys who are bombing the land, let them all land, let them all refuel all the planes, including the ones that are like flying around doing defense. Basically, he brings every plane back and has it dressed, fueled, and like armed to go fight the American to go fight the American carrier. The alternative would have been to be like, send what we have now. And as soon as we can send more, send a little more. And as soon as we can send another one, every time we have a guy with a plane that's suited to attack the carrier group of the Americans, send it. He could have done that, because that's what the Americans did. The Americans had this, it was continuous. It begins at like, they know exactly what time, because it's the fucking Navy. And like the Americans were attacking continuously. Our torpedoes didn't work. The torpedo planes are most dangerous job. They have to fly at wave height and like detach this torpedo, and they would either go too low, or even if they hit, they didn't work. Like our torpedoes for the first 2 or 3 years of the war were bullshit. They literally didn't work. Yes, it went on for years. Torpedoes not working before they fixed the problem. Meanwhile, the Japanese had the best torpedoes in the world. So all the torpedoes are hitting and missing, or just not blowing up, doing 0 damage. And then the dive bombers come. It's starting to look like the Americans are going to lose because the Japanese are fending them off so well. Then the dive bombers come, and the pilot had been at Pearl Harbor, and the pilot, you've got his first person viewpoint, not viewpoint, but like his narrative as he's coming down from high altitude straight down into one of the carriers. It's got a big red circle painted on the deck. And he's like, I'm aiming right for that 50-foot circle. And I drop my bomb and I pull up hard and I watch and watch. That's a biplane. But
this is the American Revolution. No, I'm confused.
But he hit. They hit 3 of the Japanese carriers. They destroyed 3 of the Japanese carriers in that battle, and that changed the whole war. Like that's where the war changes. The Japanese lose 3 carriers, and even though our shit is heavily damaged, I think they sink one of our carriers in that battle. But the reason they sink our carrier, if I remember correctly, they came and attacked our carrier, fucked it up, dropped bombs through the deck. There's wooden decks on American and Japanese carriers. The Germans had steel decks, I think, or the British did. And so the thing's on fire. They radio back, 1 carrier down, 1 flat top down. That's what the Japanese say. But the crew on that boat was so good and experienced at putting out fires and repairing that they put the fires out, repaired the deck, and were launching planes off of it. So when the Japanese get back, they think 1 carrier's down. It's not. In fact, it's been repaired to full power already before they can get back. And so they say, oh, we found another carrier. And so they hit it again. I think then they sink it. So they think they've taken out 2 carriers when they've only taken out 1.
I think I have this right. Early in World War II, there was an attack on an American ship of some sort, naval ship, and they took out the firefighting team. And then something that would have been extinguished was sunk. So then the Navy made a change in tactic and trained every single sailor to have a firefighting role so that you couldn't just take out the right 37 guys and sink a ship. And that lends to what Kyle was saying, like, they were so good at firefighting because literally everyone on the ship is a firefighter.
World War II aircraft carriers were triply flammable, I think he puts it. And that they're
compared
full
to
of
what?
Compared to anything, compared to any other naval vessel.
Those things are so flammable.
Compared to any other naval vessel because they're made of wood and they have all the fuel for the planes and then the bombs for the planes, and they also have guns on them. So like have all the ammo for those guns, all those 5-inch shells or 8-inch shells or whatever the fuck, and all the powder that launches them. So if you hit the wrong part, it's just they would jump out of the water. Those big gigantic naval vessels, destroyers and stuff, when the magazine goes off, in every narrative I've heard, like different battles, they talk about the boats jumping out of the water from the power of the explosion.
Nowadays, Russian tanks are curiously flammable. Like I see them just drop a grenade in the open hatch. So if the Russians abandon their tank, maybe it's immobilized or something, then the Ukrainians will come along and drop a grenade in the empty tank just so that it can't be repaired and reused. And it's surprising to me just how often they seem to burst into flames. All the rounds that are stored inside catch fire and blow it up.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that makes sense. You're probably not like spending a ton of time fireproofing against like a grenade attack at the last second because it's like it's already over if that happens.
The American tanks have their magazine in a separate compartment that has blowout panels. So when it explodes, it has a released explosion that vents so you don't kill everyone and lose the turret.
Well, that's a much better idea.
It's a way better idea if you're inside the tank.
I'd so much rather be in that tank than the one where you just burn alive.
We've got AC as well, like good air conditioning in there, 100%. Right.
Well, I bet the Russians probably don't have good AC because it's Russia.
I think he said that Russians don't have AC. I think he said the Israelis have AC suits, like there's a hose that goes onto what they're wearing, and the Americans have AC, if I recall. That's something like that.
Fucking cool. I'd love an AC suit. Just walk around all the time, like water circulating in it.
I think it was powered by the tank. Like the tank has a hose that you put on your, I'm making it up, shoulder, and now you're air conditioned inside.
I wonder if it's like, I would want liquid to be radiating through it, like an engine radiator.
Like you're a computer?
I am a computer.
Well, I guess
keep me cool.
Technically,
I want like hell. I want it all up around my head and my groin. I want like armpits. I want that.
You're not going to kill a lot of foes if you're all sweaty.
I don't intimidate with lack of shrinkage.
I just want to.
You just want to be sweaty, dangling, sweaty balls.
Sweaty balls, long. It's me at full size entering battle.
That's how we beat the Japanese. Is they saw our sweaty dicks and balls, and they're like, "Oh, we cannot possibly compete with this," because they were cold.
I've been watching Dan Carlin's Supernova in the East. If you don't know, Dan Carlin's basically a historian. He does these long form, heavily researched, well put together audio videos. It's audio, but I'm watching it on YouTube. I'm 8.5 hours in, and Pearl Harbor just ended. It's 8.5 hours until Pearl Harbor stops. Like till you get to Pearl Harbor, and then he tells those events. Like the
what
third
was the
video,
starting point?
Yeah.
Did you explain that?
Japan invading China in 1931, and like the reasons for their
so it's been like a decade.
Yeah, I was like, if the starting point was like the beginning of recorded time, then Pearl Harbor's pretty far along.
Yeah, then he's flying.
Well, it's called Supernova in the East. He's talking about Japan, the rising sun of Japan, going supernova and turning imperialist. The motivations behind that are very important. Understanding like the racial undertones of the whole world and how the Japanese were underestimated by like the entire world. Like they were like, oh, they're very good at copying technology, but they could never craft their own because the Japanese were in this isolationist period. The Japanese were in this isolationist period for a very, very long time, hundreds and hundreds of years. They come out of it and they send envoys to all the major countries. So they send one to England, learn how Navy works. They copy the English Navy. They're the best Navy in the world. Why wouldn't they? They send them everywhere. Military, art, history, everything. They want to be the best at everything. And it's interesting. He describes the Japanese people as just like everyone else, just more so. And it's like, yeah, they do everything with such an intensity and such rigor that it goes overboard. And then because they've had this period of isolationist, they've romanticized just how rigid to Bushido their ancestors were, just how good the way we look at maybe medieval knights and think of knights in shining armor who do only good, tell only truths, protect the weak. Okay. All right. Our politicians say some similar vows. They don't keep up with them. But because these guys have never known personally that ruling Bushido military class, they've heavily romanticized it. And so he tells all this to sort of load you up for what's coming in World War II. I'm fascinated. It's so good.
So you're done with the engines already?
I learned all that there was.
All that there was to know.
Yes,
now,
there's almost 4 days of history there.
What I did was I went through all the resources available to me without going to like a library or something.
Yeah, without a book.
Well, it's like as I go further, it's like, yeah, I know this. I know about that ritual. I know that they would tie those loops through the skin in their chest and then tie it to the pole and do their dance for days on end. I know that tribe had their spear had a crook in the end, like a shepherd's crook, and they would stab it into the ground and they tie a piece of leather from that to their leg to make sure they didn't take one step back. Because I went through it all.
I wanted you to learn all the details of the different human sacrifice rituals so you could teach me about all the ways they varied. How did the Incas do it? How did the Mayans do it? Did the Aztecs revolutionize it?
So they believed. So the Aztecs believed that the more the person suffered and screamed, the more powerful the blood magic would be, so that they could build a closer bond to the gods or entities they were trying to appease or connect with. So it was very important that this person die afraid and terrified.
Thank God the Spanish showed up.
So they would hold you down. 4 people would hold you down, sort of almost bent over backwards over this like bowed stone structure so that you're really exposed. He would plunge the knife in. And the goal was to tear your heart out rapidly, like as fast as possible. So you're alive when it happens. They want to show you your heart if possible. Like and you can imagine you do this 1,000 times. Maybe you get good at it. Like you're like that guy, that Japanese guy slicing up those tuna. You're just in and out. Heart.
Yeah. You're like Jiro dreams of sushi, but with torture.
But with torture.
Yeah.
Yeah. With ripping hearts out.
Yeah. Probably a good thing we put a stop to that.
I don't know.
Spanish, at least.
You think it was working, the human sacrifice?
Well, they lost badly when like a group much smaller than them showed up.
That's told part of it. Earth's temperature has started rising ever since the human sacrifices stopped.
So Cortez only had a few hundred men with him, and there's that famous quote of him like, never in history have such men as us come so few and conquered so many. But they'd also went around and they'd gotten all the tribes that the main Aztec aristocrats or whatever had been bullying forever, and were like, hey, you tired of them raiding your village and sacrificing your people, selling? Because that's what they do. They weren't necessarily killing like your neighbor and sacrificing him. You'd go get those jungle people. Like it's a lot like Mel Gibson's Apocalypto, if you've seen that, which is fantastic.
Yeah. A lot of the South Americans and Central Americans were very stoked when they got that offer from the Spanish, at least from what I learned, where they're like, oh, these gun people are going to save us from those, step pyramid building sacrificers. This is kind of nice.
Yeah, they just wanted gold, though. They just wanted gold. The Spanish had this idea that the El Dorado existed. And part of it was because early explorers, English explorers who had gone into the Amazon, either came back and lied or saw something we still haven't found. That's the only two ways.
They were fibbing, looking for more funding.
That's where I want to be too. But here's the facts. The guy who came back and told the lies was like, please send me back. Send me and my son back. And they gave their lives looking for what he had found before, leading these expeditions down the Amazon, looking for these golden cities and these huge civilizations that were supposedly there. Some people say that disease was introduced and those cities just went away. All the people died. They ended up melting back into the jungle when the leadership and the whole, Tower of Cards came tumbling down.
Ruins.
Well,
especially
we haven't plowed what they've done is that they can't. The Amazon rainforest is still there, so they've used that. It's not LiDAR. They've used ground penetrating aerial radar of some kind, some sort of sensor, and they found large compounds and large where cities once were, but not where cities were a couple hundred years ago, where maybe they were hundreds and hundreds of years ago. But then it is the Amazon rainforest, so I don't know. But I love
the guy who talks about like ancient civilizations where it's like there have been collapses.
I think it's Dan Carlin.
George Carlin's the comedian.
Oh,
right?
Dan Carlin.
So
he does the one who's like they were not Atlantis, but like imagine an analogy for Atlantis, like a sophisticated more technologically advanced society that got eliminated.
That's Graham Hancock. So Graham Hancock, as much as I enjoy his works on Göbekli Tepe and all the books he's written, I've read a couple of them. He's more on the side of like, wouldn't it be cool if, let's kind of go along with this and it'll be fun to imagine that
would be cool if.
Dan Carlin is a very respected, heavily researched historian. So he does stuff on Genghis Khan, stuff on Alexander the Great. And when you hear him speak, you'll realize he's not making his mind up about something. He'll read from contradictory sources, for example. You're like, well, when we're discussing the rape of Nanking, it's like, okay, so here's what these people say happened. Here's what these people say happened. And here's what these people say happened. Here's the evidence. Here's a missionary who was there in Nanking, a white Westerner, and what they said happened. Here's this. And you draw your own conclusions at the end. He'll be like, look, these numbers go from 1,000 to 100,000. And just so we're clear, the 100,000 isn't the highest number that people claim. Some people say it was 5 million. It's just when the Japanese went into China, they killed for a decade. When they raped Nanking, as it's called, it wasn't like, he compares it to the Assyrians taking a city and how 3 days of barbarism and the city fell. And, burning, raping, pillaging, killing the dogs and cats, raping the boys, raping the women, killing all the men, slaughtering everything. And then the king tells the story of how I levied the rivers and allowed them to flood the city. It was nothing but what was before a sprawling metropolis was now a flooded meadow. Nature itself could not have wrought such destruction upon my enemy. And it's like, holy shit. But when you get to Nanking, 3 months of occupation and not just hanging out, raping and killing. For 3 months, they stayed in this gigantic, the capital of China at the time, and just raped and murdered and tortured and killed. And they go through like the eyewitness testimony of the Westerners and what they saw, like all of the ways they found bodies, the conditions that they were in. And it's just everything you can imagine, cut apart, dissected, split down the middle, split in half, just all sorts of evil.
What was the build the Sector 7, something like that in World War II?
Oh, Unit 731?
Unit 731, that's what it was. Yeah.
And also a thing that I didn't know was the Japanese were extremely, they believed that they were the master race of Asians. They thought that
They still do.
They believed it enough that the extermination of those people seemed like a good idea, and the subjugation of them that seemed like a good idea.
One of my close friends is she's Asian, Chinese, and like born in China and then grew up mostly here. And she'll like every once in a while, if someone asks, they'll be like, what's the racism situation like over in Asia? And she'll just be like, oh, like so much more than like white people could handle. Like white people are so sensitive about all that shit. Like she'll be like, yeah, the Japanese, they think they're, the cat's pajamas. They think they're at the tippity top. And then, the Chinese think they're at the tippity top. So I think we're a little better than the Japanese, They got one over on us a few times, admittedly, but I think we're number one. And then I'd say Koreans probably rank 3. And then someone asked her, was like, what about like Thailand, Laos, the Philippines? And she's like, oh, us, the Japanese and the Koreans all could not care less about the jungle Asians. We're all better than the jungle Asians.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, like
I've heard that term before.
Yeah.
And the record is worse than that for the Japs and the Chinese, like 1v1s, because
it goes back so far.
Genghis Khan's grandson, Kublai Khan, was the leader of China. He was sitting on the throne of China at the time. And he was the one who started that first invasion of Japan, where they were going to send 50,000 troops or something by ship across the gap and there was a massive storm, sunk their fleet, and they call it the divine wind, the tsunami, and then or not tsunami,
typhoon.
It was a storm, but the divine wind is kamikaze. That's the word. That's the word.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It means divine wind. And so
what's your next era?
I mean, it's going to take me so fucking long just to cover the Japs in World War II. I probably got another 20 hours of that.
Does part of you want to go like super ancient with it? Like the Babylonians?
I want to hear Kyle become a Vietnam expert. I think that's interesting.
Well, they touch on Vietnam as it pertains to Japan and colonialism, because the French had been fighting in Vietnam for a long time, right after World War II. Their fight sort of begins in like 51 or so in Vietnam.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like Vietnam. Sucks. Vietnam's no fun. You've got so much political American shit where like nobody's resolute in what we're trying to do, and you've got just a boring war. Just not a fun war.
Understand how we were so heavily committed, yet somehow fighting with one arm behind our back, and what the logic was for the way that we did this, and
public opinion, getting reelected.
Yeah, that's a challenge. Winning wars with a democracy.
Yeah,
winning wars
when they're winning very unpopular wars.
Yeah, when you look at how
trying to maintain popularity.
I mean, when wars are won, it's nasty. It's a war. It's bad. People get bayoneted in the streets. We talk about the American soldiers quickly trying to rush the battlefield so they could execute all the dead Japanese before the officers could call them off. Because if you tried to deal with them, they almost always had a grenade in their hand. Or
remember that grenade in fucking the
true story.
You guys don't like it as much, but the Band of Brothers Japanese version,
Pacific.
Yeah, Pacific.
Yeah, I've seen it multiple times, and a lot of the stuff that's happens in the Pacific are straight from real accounts. The guy cutting the teeth out of the guy's head, like that really happened.
That makes sense. They were using real gold. You may as well, make a little money
while the guy was still alive.
Okay, well at least kill him.
With a knife. Yeah, and paying no mind to him screaming as the knife he butted it into his mouth.
Seems like he's at risk of getting bit.
Yeah,
he's got a big fucking knife.
I don't want to brag, but I would have killed him first. That's just my morals.
I don't want to brag, but I'd have used my Leatherman pliers if I was there.
You'd be like, oh,
the way better tool.
All right, Tojo, this is gonna hurt you more than me.
This Woody guy's a psychopath. He's not even keeping the teeth.
That was a regular too. I know.
I'm excited for you to bounce around past World War II, and then I want to learn more about like Babylon, Assyria, those ancient Persia, the ancient Greeks. It's such a cool time, and there's so much to learn. Does he not do stuff about those eras?
All of that. The next thing is going to be Alexander the Great. I want to learn about Alexander the Great because he seems like almost a fictional character. He's such a badass. Like he's conquering did he win his first battle? He's 16 or something like
Dude,
this
he makes
guy.
you feel like a loser. Like they show like images of what he conquered and how much there was, and it's like, here's what he had after his 85th battle at the age of 21, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like this
Dude,
guy
it's rough
ruled.
to compare yourself to great people.
I've got a couple things I'm interested in. One of which is a conspiracy theory that I looked into this week, and I couldn't get enough of because it was so important that, well, I'll just get into it. So this conspiracy purports that Long John Silver's, the fast food seafood restaurant, has never been about seafood. It's been a marijuana laundering drug business the entire time.
You have my attention.
So buckle up. This is important. First of all, ask yourself, have you ever seen a very crowded Long John Silver's? You haven't. You're lying. There's never been. There used to be a Long John Silver's around here. It was the only fast food place that I was like, oh, I can go there because there's no line. I'm in a hurry because
I prefer
no
Captain
one.
D's.
No, everyone does.
It's easier to go to the moon than to fake a crowded Long John Silver's, I've heard.
Yeah. See, so with that in mind, there's never been a huge line at a Long John Silver's ever. So, and I've got the whole epic written out. So the history is that Long John Silver started in 1969 in Lexington, Kentucky, from a man named Jim Patterson, and he wanted to have a seafood restaurant, a popular seafood restaurant. That's what he wanted to do, and he wanted to do it fast food because no one had kind of stormed, that no one had done that yet. And so he's like, all right, 1969, fucking, we're starting our seafood fast food restaurant in Lexington, Kentucky. Never quite takes off. Meanwhile, there was a moonshining family only a few miles away that had made a fuck ton of money during Prohibition. But after Prohibition ended, they were struggling, and they were kind of, their ganghold on the area, ganghold, who knows how big it was in Lexington or in the surrounding areas.
Big.
It was, maybe, they were starting to lose their hold because income wasn't coming in as quickly. The guy's name was Johnny Boone. And Johnny Boone was the descendant of those moonshiners, the child of them, and he wanted to get his criminal enterprise back up. And so he decided, I'm going to get into marijuana. And so he started the Cornbread Mafia out of Lexington, Kentucky, which was all about bringing weed in, selling it, and making a bunch of money. And they did that for years. And eventually it got to the point where it's like, well, we can't launder this through little, locally owned gas stations and shit or laundromats anymore. It's not going to work. We need to find someone we can launder this through. Who do they find? Jim Patterson, the owner of Long John Silver's. They go, Jim, we got a lot of money. We know that your little seafood restaurant is struggling. How about we help you expand a little bit? And so for the next 20 years, Long John Silver's is expanding across the country. None of them have ever been busy. None of them are serving fish. It's all Johnny Boone's weed money coming in, laundering through Long John Silver's, and then they get it back. And so they both agreed to it. Jim Patterson is exploding. Long John Silver's is expanding all over the place. Meanwhile, everybody's saying, it's not a very busy place. Food's not very good. That's what people are saying. Ask anyone. And and so the pot is making so much money, and Long John Silver's is spreading so quickly that Johnny Boone becomes the godfather of grass in the South in the 80s. And so in the mid-'80s, the FBI starts looking into Long John Silver's and into Johnny Boone. And they catch Johnny Boone between 87 and 91. That's when the investigation was, and 91 is when they finally nabbed him up. And so they nab him up, they put him in prison, but the Cornbread Mafia doesn't want to stop. They're rolling. They've got lots of pot money. They've got so much pot money that they sponsored commercials for local politicians going against heroin because heroin was getting big at the time, and they wanted the public perception of heroin to be heroin's evil, heroin's bad, heroin will give you AIDS because, the 80s AIDS scare, and associating anything with AIDS in the 80s was a death sentence. And so they were associating heroin with AIDS as much as possible, and that did successfully for a little while in certain regions slow down heroin consumption. And what did that do? boost up marijuana consumption. And that helps the cornbread mafia a lot. And so the crux of this is that Long John Silver's has never, ever been popular. They've never independently turned a profit. And it was the cornbread mafia, initially led by Johnny Boone, that is responsible for the few remaining Long John Silver's. And look this up. Look at how many locations they've closed. You know why? In the last couple of decades, why they've closed so many is because marijuana legalization and the dissolving of much of the cornbread mafia. So all of these things, I'm not saying to believe it. I'm just saying everything I just said is absolute fact.
Yeah, none of that's true.
No, that's true. I read it online.
The thing about the restaurant not being crowded is true, and that's the foundation of all of it.
Well, the real problem is that fried fish isn't very healthy, and that's not what people are after. And there's a competitor called Captain D's, which is just superior. I don't know if you've ever had the deviled crab at Captain D's, but
I think my 6 generation long weed smuggling laundering train is a little more Occam's razor.
I want to talk more about this deviled crab because my mouth's watering just thinking about it. It's delicious. Fast food.
You already had great seafood today. You should have.
I want more. I want more. I'm going back tomorrow. I'm going back fucking tomorrow and getting some more of that.
Where did you go today?
It was just this hole in the wall place that was. I've driven past it every day, and I thought they sold like fresh seafood. I was going to go in there and buy some crab to cook at home, but they did like Low Country boil in there, and so Low Country boil is like crab and sausage and corn on the cob and a potato, and I think that was all there was. And it's like covered with like that Old Bay spicy shit and like melted butter. It was incredible. I'm getting a double order tomorrow. Today I just got like one cluster of crab, one potato, one piece of corn, and half a sausage. Tomorrow, double all of that. Some credits. So I got my DNA test back.
Yes.
I've got
ask you about this.
I've got a few screenshots here. So here's the one that's sort of the broad strokes. If you want to show people, let me make sure I'm not oversharing.
I was surprised when it said you're 5% gay.
Yeah, shocker. That's what happens when you ejaculate in that cup.
That would be a hilarious, inexpensive bit. It's just send him a cup of cum.
Yeah. So,
man, you're white as fuck.
I'm just making sure you're not oversharing. Last name's fine to share.
Yeah,
I know it's out there, but
white as fuck. Yeah, they're court records. 99.7% European. All right, British and Irish. 90 is 63%. It seems like most of my ancestors hail from
mostly Irish,
London and Dublin, Ireland. Yeah. 16% French and German. A little bit of Scandinavian.
The classic self-hating Irishman.
Yeah. Yes, just a speck. No, there's a speck of Spanish and Portuguese. Just a little, just a taste.
Did you say speck on purpose for that one?
I did.
It took me a second to catch on.
Here's the most interesting thing out of the whole thing. So I also did. I could show you like the screenshots of like all the traits, but it's literally like nothing bad and everything good. It's kind of boring.
Where's the Neanderthal part? That
right here. Yeah. That spoiler alert. I have 315 Neanderthal
that
variants.
Silhouette picture.
This is more than 95% of 23andMe customers. I have more Neanderthal variants than 95% of the people who have ever been tested.
And you're still only in second place on this podcast.
Words hurt, Taylor.
Yeah.
Like I had a relative who was like 60% more, obviously because they're a relative and they had the same descendants. But both of my parents have Neanderthal traits. So I get like a double dose where like she was like 60% or something. Or like she was like 200 traits, and that made up like more than 70% of the people who had been tested. I'm at 315. The highest ever tested is 340.
I look forward to where the memes are going on this.
Good for you, man. Dude, being high Neanderthal, that's good. They were smarter than us. You know, they were. Yeah. See, like the whole reason there's the meme of like, oh, these idiots, is because the first skeleton we discovered of Neanderthals was an old person with like crippling arthritis and back problems. And so that kind of took over the cultural zeitgeist of like, oh, they were all hunchbacked and dumb. And when in reality, like I think they had quite a bit, like significantly larger.
There
Why
was
did they
more of us.
lose?
There were more of us.
Yeah, we outbred them. Like we
Kyle,
bred
Kyle,
with them
Kyle.
and then fucked them.
I don't think you should be saying more of us. In your case, it's more of them.
Yeah,
They just outworked us. All right? They were
We
humans
fucked
were
them into
going hard
submission.
in the paint, and we'd have 1, maybe 2 children. You'd have 8 or 10. It was crazy. You'd take our women, mape them.
Well, you're not going to get a lot of kids if you are murdering them after.
Well, I never said humans were smart. They didn't
Yeah, and
understand how
vaping is
reproduction
murdering
worked.
first. So
Yeah,
I
mate.
wonder what they sounded like. Oh, Chiz had got his DNA tested
Chiz
too.
also has his here. He's got a whole album of these. If you click the imager part,
let me
Yeah, he's mostly Southern European.
let me see if there's anything he included that I didn't.
make sure I didn't include anything you wouldn't want shared.
2.2% Asian, Northwest Asian for Chiz. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I did the $100 upgrade, so it tells you like all of the diseases that you could possibly be likely to get, everything from Alzheimer's to certain cancers, different kinds of blood diseases and brain diseases. And I would have included that, but it literally says no traits. Like for 2 pages, it's like nothing. So like, there was one about like what kind of earwax I would have, whether it's like chalky wax or if it's like runny, sticky earwax.
I mean, you're white, so probably the waxy, sticky kind, right?
Sure. Things about baldness, back hair, earlobe attachment or detachment, the length of your middle finger or something in relation to your index finger, lots of stuff like that. That's just like boring shit. And I was just like straight across the board, like no bad things and all good things, frankly.
Why does it say here that you have a tiny dick?
Well, they made me measure it. They didn't ask for that measurement, but I did include a couple of Polaroids with my spit sample. I wanted to cover all my bases, so I sent a stool sample as well. They were disgusted.
So
to be thorough.
I'm behind the. I like triple check to make sure it was okay to share Chiz's results, but so I want to go over again. He's mostly Spanish and Portuguese and Italian. Broadly South European, a little bit of Northwestern European, British and Irish, like Kyle.
He's like the antithesis of Kyle as far as Europeans go. He's all Southern European. Kyle's all Northern European.
Mostly, yeah. He's pretty Neanderthal too. Is it Neanderthal?
Neanderthal.
I've always said it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Neanderthal, but they shouldn't have thrown that fucking H in there if they wanted people to say it right.
Latin
that's how it is. It's Neanderthal.
Yeah, that's
Neanderthal.
I almost always say Neanderthal too.
Okay. Ability to match musical pitch, 50-50. He can smell asparagus. Can't we all?
No.
Who can't smell asparagus?
Some people. Some people think cilantro tastes like soap because of a genetic thing they have.
Likely no cleft chin. Likely no hair loss. I think that's true. Likely wet earwax. That's something I didn't know about Chiz.
It tastes terrible.
I mean, earwax is associated. I think the same gene that's responsible for how wet your earwax is responsible for BO, which is why like Asian people have like drier earwax and they have way less BO, whereas white people have wet earwax and way more BO.
I didn't know that.
How that shit works.
Do black people next, Taylor?
I don't know. I'm not the earwax expert.
No such thing.
Yeah, black people don't have earwax. That's a racist trope. Yeah, that's really interesting. Well, I mean, you didn't get any like anything that lets you say fun words, so that kind of stinks.
Oh,
he can make fun of the Irish.
That's true.
You didn't scroll hard enough. 0.2% sub-Saharan African.
Ooh, my brother.
Dude, there is no way. That is an error. Yeah, I'm looking right at you. What does that mean? That you had one black like grandma 30,000 years ago? Like
Kyle, I like the "I got my pants on" joke as to why he couldn't see you were black and didn't want it to slip under the radar.
Just fine, just fine. My people are always being ignored.
My brothers.
Chiz is CT, most common for elite power athletes.
I got that as well.
He's,
of course, you did all that Northern European DNA.
Likely similar weight on diets, high or low in saturated fat. Similar to what? I don't understand that.
I was looking at that
probably why my body does so well with losing weight, feeling good, and putting muscle on when I do keto. All right. Age-related macular degeneration. What's macular degeneration? Muscles?
That's when your eyes go bad.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, slightly increased.
I got
risk.
that one.
Yours isn't age related; it's life related.
Yeah,
I might have that one.
Shitty genetics.
What is this? BRCA1 and 2 genes, increased cancer risk. He does not have that. Well, lucky for him.
Yeah,
that's the last
good.
one.
Good for you, Chiz. I was just thinking about his chances of getting cancer. This is way off my shoulders.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if there's any health and traits that are even worth like showing of mine, because like I said, it's just my health action plan. This thing's really cool.
Wait,
Black History Month.
Real detailed.
Your trace ancestry did not say that it was sub-Saharan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me see if I can find.
Oh, maybe if you expand that arrow next to it, I can see.
I'm going to do that right now.
Okay, yeah, because I thought it was undefined, but now I understand it's just unexpanded.
Oh, good for Chiz. Likely no bald spot.
Yeah, Angolan and Congolese.
That's what that is in that trace ancestry?
Yeah, I'm going to screenshot it.
Where's Angolia? I'm stupid. I'm sorry.
It's in, Northern Africa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
0.2%. Let's go. That's enough to get you by.
Yep. Why do you not take my application for this scholarship to college?
Do I get reparations because of this? Could I get some reparations?
You should, Kyle. It's your month right now.
It is my month.
Oh,
crackers.
As far as I could be, 0.3% Congolese.
You're 85% Neanderthal. You need to take this fucking test. You're gonna blow me out of the water.
Can't wait to win the Neanderthal contest.
They're not even gonna mail you results. They're just gonna show up, fucking lab coats on, Mr.
Just
Mr.
bursting
Taylor.
into the room. My God, we've discovered the missing link. He's alive, and he lives in Eastern Missouri.
They immediately dart you.
Look at the size of this cranium.
He's fucking measuring.
We thought bones this thick were stuff of myths and folklore.
You ever see that? Like I've talked about it before, but way back in the Bum Hunter.
Yeah.
When you get the Bum Fight DVD, you'd also have some clips from the Bum Hunter every now and then. He'd dress up just like Steve Irwin. He's like, "All right, got a big buck here. He's hiding out behind this refuge. Yeah. All right, everyone be very quiet. We got to take this big buck by surprise." And he just leaps onto a big homeless black man and starts duct taping him up. And the black guy's like, "What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "Calm down, big fella. Calm down." And like once he's properly restrained, aka kidnapped, he starts measuring the man's skull with a tape measure, and then he takes a Sharpie and writes like 47B or something on his forehead, and then he's like, "Jot that down, 47B, all right, 32 inches inseam, 45-inch waist, all right, document this, all right, we're gonna tag him now and then release him back into the wild." Fucked.
Piercing a homeless guy's ear with a tag.
they wrote on him with a Sharpie. That was how they like tagged him. It was
It's really
so
mean. I hope it's probably not. I like to think that after the cameras turned off, they apologize and give him something that made it like it. Look, I'm sorry, bro. It's for a thing. The sign right here. Accept my $100 as payment, and We'll put it on bum fight.
You know what? I can tell you with confidence that did not.
I'm wish casting.
The black guy's like, "It's the fourth time this month.
They were so
Goddamn."
terrible. That is so mean spirited and so fucking good. That is hilarious.
I was 18 at the time. I didn't think it was sad at all. I loved that shit. I was just like, are there more of these? Like I want to subscribe, donate, and become a part of this guy's fan base.
Yeah.
But now I realize, like,
I donate.
that's
to that
one of
guy's
those awful
Patreon.
things that, yeah, I would pay extra so I could go on a bum hunt.
Yeah.
If you donate $500, you get to go on like a bum hunt safari. Welcome to Portland, home of the most virulent bums in the land.
Crikey, this one's got needles all over him. Yeah.
You see, he's put these needles all over him as a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
That won't work on us, though. It's so fucked. It's Wild Kingdom.
Lure him out with some Bud Light. Yeah.
Opioids.
I've been watching this show
Forrest Gump.
called Preppers.
Oh, I can't
Or
wait.
no, it's called Doomsday Preppers. I
I've
think
seen
on
it.
Netflix.
I've seen
And
it.
I had never really. I think I'd seen like a couple clips on YouTube, but the other day I sat down and I thought I'll watch one of these. Maybe it'll be funny. I watched 7 or 8 of those in a row, and it is the funniest fucking show because first of all, every single one of these prepping is an exclusively white people thing. I've discovered. There is not a single non-white guy on there prepping his farm for the fucking apocalypse. But another thing, these guys are usually between a line where you're laughing at them for thinking they're prepared, or you're looking at them like, oh my God, if shit goes down, this guy is the Negan of the new world. Like that level of shit. And I watched a couple different episodes that made me laugh really hard. The best one is in like South Carolina or Tennessee or Kentucky, somewhere in there. There's it was Georgia, maybe. There's a park called Deadwood, and it's like a reenactment of 18th century or 17th or 19th century kind of Wild West shit, where you can see cowboys do fake shootouts with the Indians, and you can see a cannon go off, and you can go into the old saloon and that shit.
Yeah, it
and
sounds like Gatlinburg.
this is a real theme park you can go to, and it is interviewing the guy who owns this theme park. And right from the beginning, he's like, "Yep. So my family, we've had this theme park for many years at this point, and it was just 10, 15 years ago. I thought, I got to start prepping. And I thought, where better than to use my own business here as the prepping town. And so for the last 15 years, I've turned Deadwood into a post-apocalyptic fortress." Now, and I'm not shitting you. Watch this. This guy who owns a theme park, he was like walking around his restaurant. He's like, "Well, I got a little thing around here. You order 9 cases of food for the park. I take the 10th. I've got 4 years of dried food stored up in different places around here. I'll show you this one storehouse. I'm not showing you the rest." And then with the camera people, and then he'd walk around and be like, "You see over here? We got a little putt-putt course. What you notice about that right there? Nothing, right? But you stand right here, you crouch below this post and this wall. What do you have right there? Field of sight over the entire area of approaching the chain link fence we have. And so this right here, and you don't even know that this entire putt-putt course, reinforced concrete, bulletproof. You can hide behind anything on this course, and you will be okay. And so I have someone right here on hole 7, someone right there on hole 4, the entire east wing of this area covered by fire." And then he would go back and he's like, "The big thing I wanted to get going was my defensive cannon. It started out just being a cannon we had on site to shoot blanks to impress the comers. I realized soon after I can put BBs in there. And I've tested it. Now, if I have this pointed to the southern end of my park, it covers an area of 14 yards by 3 yards high. You know what that'll do to a man? Tear him right up, I'll tell you what. Tear him right up." And this guy,
He was walking around his fucking theme park talking about how all the things he'd put in there. I don't know how. Yeah, look up Deadwood theme park. I don't know how it's legal what he was doing, because a lot of what he was admitting to was like just like stealing money from a business to store it away. But I guess it is his business, so he can do whatever he wants. But it was so fucking, and the whole time, like, he would say little fantasy things where he'd be like, I've always loved the Old West.
This is a pretty legit theme park.
It's my. I told you, it's really legit. He'd be walking around in like the old general store or whatever, and he'd be like, and you know what I really think? You know, I love the Old West. It's been a favorite part of my life for years. When it goes down, when the Meridian Midwest, when it goes down, I think life's going to return similar to the Old West. And you know what? I think people are going to be happier for it in the long run. And it was clear he's just living out a fantasy that it will go back to the Old West. He didn't even prep in the way most of them do, where they get high tech things. All of his like procurement of resources was 19th century Old West means. Oh, yeah. Like he built, and every one of these people calls their fort the Alamo. Every single one of these people, because the voiceover will be like, and Ted built this $3 million compound in South Texas, and he calls it the Alamo. And every episode that voice has to go, and he calls it, and he calls it the Alamo. Like, they're all the Alamo. One of the guys spent, I think, $7 million building a castle, like a full-on castle on a peak somewhere as a prep thing. And until this point, this was the first episode that changed the kind of candor of the show. It had been, all right, we're going to follow 3 different people, and then there's a score at the end that expert preppers are like, here's your score on water, food, shelter, safety,
and evaluate their like escape plan and things like that. They say when things go to, and they have a cause, right? I think it will be an economic catastrophe. I think it'll be a hurricane. And then they take that like possibility and what they would do about it and rate how well they'd handle their particular apocalypse. Yeah,
exactly. So they'll be like, this guy, I think his thing was an EMP, where somebody detonating a nuke above the atmosphere, destroying all electronics or some such shit. And he, like, early in the episode, he's like, yeah, well, I've gotten really into building this castle. I've spent, I think, about $2 million on it so far. And so I'm having my 10 kids up here today to, I want to see who I want to sign this off to when I eventually die. And this fucking cunt of a dude.
I hope there's a reality show for his inheritance.
He literally turned it into a reality show for his own inheritance, where he had all 10 of his kids come in, and he's sitting there like giving them solemn advice, where he's like, I've decided I'm not leaving very much for anyone in my will. All the money I have is going into this castle, is going into this fortress, and I need 2 of you, because he had 2 wives, each had like 4 or 5, 6 kids or something.
And he's like, Mormonism.
I'm taking someone from this wife and someone from this wife, and the 2 of you are going to be my inheritors for this. And so this fucking asshole of a dude took his 10 children and he made them compete for their inheritance. And so he would even
Please describe the competitions.
And in theory, they're competing for their future survival.
They are. Yeah, because not all of them are getting access to the castle. Right? And this is an enormous castle. It's way too big of a castle. It's literally all stone, because he's like,
too big.
Yeah. And so he has all of them come out there, and he's like, now, my oldest son, he is the oldest, but I don't trust him with a firearm. I think he's a little bit lazy. I don't care for some of his attitude, and so we'll see what he does today. And like, he like showed a clip of his son like trying to shoot the gun, and his son being like, "Oh, I've never done this before," like being cutesy. And then it cuts back to the dad, where he's like, "I was not impressed, not at all. He's not going to deal with that." Like, his other daughters would come out, and this guy was trash talking his own children to the preppers camera crew. Now, what we're talking about is this guy with 10 children built a fucking castle and then brought them out there, and in the middle of the preppers episode dropped the bomb of like, and now only 2 of you will have the rights to this castle, and you have to compete to get it. And he's this multimillionaire maniac.
Is it
So
like
they're
a
doing shooting
biathlon?
competitions?
Okay.
They're doing shooting competitions. They're doing like orchestrated counter assaults where he's like standing in the back and he's like, Tim, Alan, rifles to the front, fire, back up. Alice, Susan, bows, and they're like shooting bows and arrows at these dolls and things. This guy's fucking insane. He's fucking insane.
But you know what he's
And
not?
He's shit talking his own kids the whole way through on the private prepper's camera. They'll like do something in front of him, and he'll come out and be like, "Yeah, Alice, honestly, not impressed. Not impressed one bit by my third oldest daughter. I thought she might have a better chance at this, but there's no way she's getting a piece of this pie."
But he's not poor.
No,
No,
he's
no.
inordinate. He built a fucking castle.
That's what surprises. No, I've seen this show too, and it's usually people who really could use this money in a better way. You know, and a future that is more likely to happen. If you really have like $1,500 and you want to prepare for the future, go to community college. Right, that will improve your future. Perhaps
the rates on IRAs were looking attractive,
but instead
but
they're
this
like
9-inch gun on the front of the house, the trailer home, modular home as I like to call it, it is going to pay dividends.
They're investing in Connex boxes with like enough armor to hold back a 22, you know, and acting like
those are
that.
only $1,800 a pop.
It blows me away. And this future that they're preparing for, I always say this, is a fantasy. It's not a likely outcome. It's one
Right,
that
but
they'd
the
rather
word
live in
there-
that world.
Exactly. The word is fantasy because they are fantasizing about this new world order where the currency they've chosen becomes primary. And I
Yes.
married into a family of these people. I don't know if I should be ashamed to say it. And
No,
I-
you
I-
should
I
talk about
certainly-
it thoroughly.
I'll be happy to. I received as a marriage gift from the Latter-day Saints some beans and other things that did not make my last move. I'll confess. But you know, it's in
Hey, what box did we put the 8 tons of beans in?
yeah. Oh yeah.
I threw all that out, baby. I'm gonna be honest with you. You're fine.
I'm not worried about it.
You
Absolutely.
threw
But
away
see-
our 3,000 pounds of beans.
But see, in the world of preppers, you're more accepted if you've thought of something else to prep for. Because if you say, all right, we're fortified against this level of enemy, and you come up with something like, well, what if they train the bears? Everybody else, oh my goodness, I've got to sharpen more sticks. And it's like, it's this kind of craziness.
These
but-
Kodaks are smarter than they let on.
That's
Believe me,
it.
they
can use weapons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's a thing. I mean, certainly not anything that I spend any time on, but Mormonism in Metro Atlanta is quite prevalent, and they love some prepping. They love getting together and be like, "Have you tuned your ham radio today?" And, well, no, but I literally drove up to one, and I had a CB radio on my Mercedes for the Cannonball, so to hear what truckers say about cops, and he's like, "Are you ready?" And I'm like,
Oh shit.
Is that the code? Are you ready? Like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And but when they heard, when these guys hear the person featured in the show you watch come in, like, about 15 years ago, they're going to go, amateur. Dude, this guy wasn't even ready for Y2K. He wasn't even thinking about it. I was there. I had 2 drops of bleach in the bathtub. We were going to drink for days. I mean, it's that kind of thought process of like, you didn't prepare because, I mean, my father-in-law was ready for Y2K and probably was a little bit disappointed on January 1st, 2000, saying, man, I thought Will Smith was going to be the end of it all. But, it's like, it's not always
I'm
the way
so
it
proud of
happens.
my family.
You're
There was-
totally right. Yeah.
My dad he woke up the next day and he was like, "Everything's good, huh? All right." like no attention was paid to
The
Y2K.
prepper thing is totally a fantasy on behalf of, well, not necessarily a fantasy because I won't say that something bad couldn't happen. And like if
Bad
something
things could
shitty goes
absolutely
down,
happen.
whether or not it's the EMP or some, terrorist attack, you're still going to be happy you have 4,000 pounds of beans in the cellar.
Right.
But
You know,
there was
talked
one
about some of the
specifically
scenarios.
that jumped out to me as clearly someone fantasizing in this show, where there was this hick-ass country guy who had like his own team. I think like the
absolutely. Yeah.
7 day marauders or something, and he
Oh,
was
no.
like building his own team around this farm, and it was a really impressive setup. But half the episode was talking to this guy who lived in a city a ways away, and it was like, and he's like, yeah, I'm trying to join Ted's 7 marauders. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. It's going to be even harder because my wife and daughter really don't want to do it. But I've already sold our home, and I've decided we're moving onto this guy's compound. And so the whole way, like, the wife and daughter are just not having it. He's like, this is pretty neat, huh? This is pretty cool. And they'll like go to the daughter in a private interview, and she's like, I'm gonna miss all my friends, and I don't want to go, and it's sad. And the wife's like, I know he's just doing this because he wants to take care of us, but I don't want to live on Ted's survival farm. It's not going to be good.
So my friend Eric, he's his YouTube channel is Iraq Veteran 8888, which is not Heil Hitler. Okay, it has a whole different meaning. It has something to do with
Hulk Hogan.
It's people make that mistake sometimes. 88 is code for Heil Hitler. It's not it. I promise you. He explained it to me one time. It has something to do with his army number or something like that. He was in the military. Very nice guy. Those aren't his politics at all. Just clear that up right away. He was asked to do a TV show. I got asked to do a bunch of these silly TV shows, and we always turned him down. It wasn't enough money. It was too much time. It wasn't going to work. Well, I go into his store one day that he worked at he doesn't work there now. He's sort of moved on from that. But I'm like, Christian? Is that you? And this guy, Christian, this producer who I had went to LA and hung out with, he had the hottest girlfriend I'd ever seen. I feel like she was part of his sales pitch. He wanted to do a TV show with me at one time, and it didn't work out because of the reasons I mentioned before. He's there and they're filming, and I'm like, what's going on? You guys are doing a TV show, huh? Like, yeah. And I was very excited for Eric. I was like, this will be real cool. You know, it'd be cool to see Eric in a TV show and see what they make of it and all that stuff. You never know how these things are going to turn out. He could be the next Sons of Guns without all the child molestation. And so the time comes when the show's been made, and it's a prepping show. Him and his guys are going to people's houses and they're prepping for them. They are the guys who do the installation of they're like, hey, we want to be prepared. We want an underground lair that's prepared for this or that, or we want a bulletproof safe room or whatever. And they go do it, you know? And cool concept, I thought. Prepping was real big at that time. And but they didn't know what it was going to be called. You know, that was one of those decisions that was going to be left up to the production company. And that's another reason why I was always iffy about these things. There'd be little clauses like that. Oh, you don't get to name the show or have any input. Oh, and then we own your IP forever. And any merchandise you ever sell, we'll get 50% of that. I said, well, shit, why do you get 50% of fucking my t-shirts? Like that's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be stuff like that. So the time comes. The show is available. You know, it was A&E or some shit. I don't know, True TV, whatever. And Kitty's like, the show's out. Let's purchase it. Let's watch an episode of Eric prepping. And she's texting back and forth to Eric, and she's like, what's it called? And he's like, yeah, you know, we didn't have input, I guess. And, you know, no, but what's it called? Prepper Hillbillies. And she's like, isn't there already a show called that? And he's like, no. That's the Hillbilly Preppers.
So they were trying to piggyback off some other marketing.
Look at this link. We are the Prepper Hillbillies. This is not. I'm pretty sure they're photoshopped into this promotional image.
That's him on the left.
On this Share TV site you linked, it says that this show has 1 fan.
It does say.
Look, I'm not here to shit on Eric. Look, the TV show went poorly, I think, but the main thing was the name, because I know that he did not want to be a Prepper Hillbilly. That is not what he wanted to be, and it was ridiculous. And I watched a few episodes of it.
I remember Barry from his YouTube channel.
Yeah, he passed away.
I really like that guy.
Nice guy. Yeah. But yeah, for real. And I just remember being like, isn't there already a? Oh, no, you're thinking of the Hillbilly Preppers.
Yeah.
are the prepper hillbillies.
Not to
Big
be
difference.
confused.
Yeah. it was
Well, if
so-
anybody needs a laugh, watch Preppers, because it is hilarious. One of the guys he sunk like $3 million in his fortress, which he named the Alamo again. And it was like 400 miles out of Houston or something. It had these two big stone buildings connected by a path. He had concrete water containers that he even tested, because he was like, I would buy plastic, but I don't trust that it's going to stand up to flames. And so he like made Molotov cocktails and hucked them at his own concrete water supply to show that it would work. He has his own well with the rights to the water there. And then it was showing like their intense thing, he and his partner. And his partner like accidentally shot a rifle inside this blind. So it, creates a lot of noise. But both of them had ear protection on. And this dude who spent millions and millions and millions of dollars prepping for this got so upset and so broken by a firearm going off and creating that much noise that he was like openly weeping and freaking out and like, oh, you even like the partner guy didn't own any of it. He was just this eccentric guy who knew a lot about explosives or something. And he's just sitting there talking. He was like, oh, I can't even hear, man. I can't even hear. You fucked up. I gotta let you go. I gotta let you go. You done fucked up, man. You fucked up. And he's laying on the ground crying because the gun went off too close to him with ear protection on. And it was like that moment where I'm like, oh shit. If anything does go down and this guy so much as stubs his toe, then whatever alpha marauder shows up has a dope setup. It's gonna be, that guy is going to seize your land, beat the shit out of you, kill you, and then he'll be ecstatic that you decided to spring for the concrete
Why was he so
water
upset?
holes.
I don't understand. Just that he heard a loud noise?
Yeah.
No,
He was
accidentally
like-
discharging a firearm.
No,
You are
it wasn't an accident. He was next to a guy who he knew was going to fire, but he had the barrel inside the blind where
Yeah.
you're supposed to put it outside, and it
A
had a
little
muzzle
louder.
brake, had a muzzle brake on it, which
Very loud.
does make it louder. But the way he reacted to it was not at all
Yeah, I don't
someone who
think I
spent
understand
millions
the
of dollars in
blind.
prepping.
I'm
It's
exposing
like-
myself here.
It's a metal stand they had that they were practicing sniping from,
Uh-huh.
and so like it wasn't a cloth.
like a shed
blind
with a
or
big open
something.
window.
Basically an elevated shed, and they were in there, and the one gentleman barely had a little bit of the muzzle brake inside of the blind and fired, and of course that makes a ton of noise.
Oh, so if
but
the
other
muzzle had
guy,
just stuck outside the wall a little bit, then the noise would have gone outside mostly.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
then
really
it probably
underground.
it would have been fine. It was an amateur mistake for that guy to make, but the way that this guy responded with openly weeping and like calling the paramedics and things, it was like, oh my god, dude, like you're not
Yeah.
prepared.
Yeah. If
So-
that's shaking, if that's rustling your jimmies, it's going to be a rough time in any sort of real scenario.
Can I
This
do
guy
that?
right
Have we
here.
done the beans and the girlfriend story?
We haven't. With bated breath, I await.
Yes,
I promise you, I think
Beans.
it's gonna exceed your expectations.
Okay. No. I don't have low expectations. I'm very.
Oh well, I
curious.
take it back then. Now it won't. All right, so here it is. Today I fucked up by demanding that my girlfriend show me where she buried the beans in the woods. All right.
Oh, God.
I admit I posted a version of this relationship in the relationship subreddit the other day, but they closed it with no explanation, yada yada yada. With all that going on, all right, I'm sorry, let me start over. I assume because they decided it was fake. I can see how they might think that, but this is true. This is a thing that happened and is happening, and now there's more to it. I actually got broken up with it. With all that
By the
going
way,
on,
I know I'm interrupting this on purpose. Every time someone starts a story that way, that's how I know it's true. Yes,
with
go
all
ahead.
that going on, we had stocked up on supplies, including some canned goods. I ordered a few weeks ago and 30 cans of beans. 10 black beans, 10 kidney beans, and 10 are pink beans. I also ordered 15 cans of chickpeas. I thought this would be a reasonable amount of beans and chickpeas to have every now and then. It would last for some time. This is 3 months ago. It's coronavirus stocking up.
Okay.
However, earlier this week, I opened the cabinet because I wanted to make a vegetarian chili using 2 cans of beans. All of the beans were gone.
What the hell? So I asked my girlfriend, and she told me she buried all of the beans in the woods. At first, I thought she was joking, but she explained no. She had buried these beans in the woods. What the fuck? I asked her to explain, and she told me that she was afraid that if things get bad, we might have to worry about looters or whatever, and that the beans would be in danger of being stolen. I thought that was completely ridiculous and unlikely, and she got angry at me and said she's protecting our beans. According to her logic, the beans are safely buried in the woods behind our apartment complex, and if we ever need to get some beans, we'll go to the stash, dig up a can or two, but I'd prefer it if we could save them, just in case things get worse. I said, why only bury the beans? Why not bury our more valuable items? She said the canned food was our most valuable item for long-term means, and that since we have fresh food and online grocery deliveries, it would make sense to continue to stockpile more beans. She intends to go bury more beans in the woods every week. This was too insane for me, and I got really upset. I demanded that we go to where the beans are buried, and she refused to tell me. She said that if I knew, she was afraid I would dig up the beans. And I said, damn right I would dig up the beans. And she said, I will never jeopardize the beans. So the following day, I tried to put my foot down. I'm not usually a foot downer, but there are rare issues where compromise is out of the question, and I foolishly decided that this was one of those issues. I demanded to know where the beans were buried, and I told her that if she was going to bury the beans I paid for in the woods, that I would move out. We fought about it, and I kept insisting. In hindsight, I should have just let it go and created my own hidden stash of beans in the apartment and given her time to cool down about this bean buying scenario. But I blew it all out of proportion. And it's weird to bury the beans in the woods, but why do I have to press it? What's the harm at the end of the day? In the grand scheme of things, but I kept demanding her to take me to the beans, or at least draw a map or something.
Take me to the beans.
Finally, she broke up with me over the beans. I've lost the love of my life because I couldn't let the damn beans go. I am in disbelief. She has moved out. Now, I am not only heartbroken, but I'm now paying full rent instead of 50%, which is a huge financial issue. Beans. Too long, didn't read. I kept demanding that my girlfriend showed me where she buried the beans in the woods, and she got so angry at me, she ended our relationship and moved out. My heart is shattered, and my finances are jeopardized because of a bean hoard.
No. Fuck that bean whore. Fuck that bean burying bitch. All right? This is nonsense. Women have no concept of what fucking society falling apart is. There's gonna be so much rape. It always comes back to rape. Those beans are not gonna be what they're looking for. You're gonna wish that you had left the beans in the house.
They're gonna be looking for your bean.
Yeah, they're gonna be. So you're gonna wish that there were more beans in the house so they'd have something to do other than rape
something
you
else
more.
To flick.
That's what they're going to be flicking is your beans, bitch. And your husband's going to be dead in the gutter with an empty stomach because you buried the beans.
And you know what she definitely didn't do? She definitely didn't bury the beans in the correct way. She definitely just threw cans of beans in the ground and threw dirt on top of it. And it's like, bitch, those beans are going to be ruined so fast that dirt's going to eat right through them. Come on. Be smart.
6 months.
Be smart when you bury your beans.
Those beans were already ruined if this was the beginning of quarantine. Already ruined. The labels have peeled right off. You don't know what kind of beans you're getting.
Dude, if I came home one day, any day, and my girlfriend had hidden a huge amount of food in the woods, that would be an immediate problem. It wouldn't be we're going to see how this plays out. It would be what the fuck are you doing burying beans in the woods, you retard?
We go back to
what?
To Kyle's complaint that you won't know what beans they are in case you're making your post-apocalyptic chili. And
he's unearthing a can and he's like, is this it? No. It's already full up on Pinto. Fuck.
There's a follow-up to this story. There's a subreddit that I had never heard of called R Metal Detecting, where they got all enthusiastic and they're like, dude, I'll help you find those beans. No, I'll help you find these beans. And these metal detector enthusiasts offered to help him find his beans, which I think is great.
I need an update. Did they find the goddamn beans?
I don't know.
How many maybe I missed it because as the story got better and better, I was like, wait, what? I really got tuned in.
30 cans of beans.
Holy shit!
45 cans if you include the chickpeas.
That's so many beans.
I don't know. How big is a can of beans? I'm picturing like tuna fish.
Dude, this bitch can go fuck herself.
No,
that's so many beans to go
a can
hide.
of beans is this big. It's like a soda can.
Okay.
Yeah, but 49 of those?
45.
What I'm saying is 40 or 50 cans of beans is a huge amount of beans.
Of course. And she stole them for herself.
Look, I'm so
Weirdest
petty.
thing.
I'm so petty, and I get so
You want it for
frustrated.
yourself? Bilbo Baggins.
I'll tell you what I would have done, and I'm not even kidding. I would have called the law. I would have called the fucking police, and I would have told them, first I get some evidence, right? I text message her, hey, about those beans that you took out of the cabinet and hid. I paid for those. Can we at least both agree upon that? She's like, well, yeah, you paid for them. Okay. I feel like I should know where they are. Will you tell me right now where the beans are? No, I can't do that. I'm setting her up. I'm setting her up. This is a bean sting. All right. Then I call Johnny Law. All right. And when he shows up, I show him the text messages from the bean bandit. And one of two things is going to happen. Either she's going to lead us to the burial site of said beans, or she's going to jail.
Or third option, the cops will laugh at you and possibly shoot you for doing that.
I'm white, okay?
Just laugh.
But what if they also had a loved one steal their beans? You haven't considered that.
Oh, they could be being sympathetic.
We've seen this before, sir.
I've called the
Just
cops.
step
I called
outside.
the cops
We'll take it from here.
when shit was stolen off my porch and I had the person's face on video. I called the cops and they were like, "We don't care. Not gonna 45 cans of beans. I don't give a fuck."
I mean, that's a very cheap thing, but think about the future.
Oh, yeah,
What I was thinking that you were going to say, Woody, is that this chick was going to try and plant cooked beans.
That's funny too.
In the woods, and that would have been
Still in the can.
infuriating.
Like the whole can? Like she's not even bothering to open the can. No, she's just putting the can in the ground, thinking a whole like a
Life
tree that's
finds
gonna
a way, and then cans of beans come off the trees.
Just reach up and
the
pluck
thing
them off
is-
like apples.
If you open up the can and you plant it, you get beans. But if you plant the entire can, you get a canned tree. So it's much more efficient.
An enormous can comes out of the ground.
An enormous can with canned branches that then later have cans of beans coming down from them.
Science.
So it's actually much smarter.
Yeah, Kyle, what are you, science tonight?
I hate that woman. I hate anyone that's that stupid, regardless of their sex. And he's better off because look, if she was planting beans today, God knows what she's gonna be doing in a few years. One of the dumbest things my mom ever did. And we almost left her right then. I'm kidding. But I remember when 9/11 happened, she put a bunch of gallons of water in the basement, and I was down there. Like that's where Dad and I's like reloading bench was, where we reloaded ammunition and did that stuff. And I noticed there was like 8 gallons of water over under the stairs that lead down to the basement. And I was like, "What's that?" And he's like, "I don't know. That's weird, huh?" I was like, we get wake upstairs. Mom, there's a bunch of gallons of water downstairs. What's that about? She's like, in case the terrorist attack. And I'm like, describe
Well,
this.
8 gallons ought to do us through.
I'm like, describe this hypothetical attack. And keep in mind, I'm 18 at the time? No, I'm like 16 at the time. I'm like, describe this hypothetical attack in which we really need 8 gallons of water to survive. Well, I guess they attacked the tiny town of Livonia, Georgia, and population 8,000.
First the chicken farms. No, first the Twin Towers, then the chicken farms.
Then the chicken farms. They're
First
coming right for
Livonia,
us.
Georgia, then New York.
And I was like, okay. Well, let's just say that happens. That they organize, that they hijack more planes and crash more jetliners into our small town. How does that take our water away that we already have? She's like, well, I was like, because we have a well. You know this. We have a well
And a generator.
with enormous amounts
Crash
of water.
into the well.
How many beans had she purchased?
She said, maybe the water gets poisoned. And I'm like, they're poisoning wells now? Because they're really bringing it to the little guy. if they're just like stumbling around in the scariest place in the world for a man in a fucking turban, by the way, the deep south of the United States, walking through the woods, I guess, looking for rural areas that live on wells, and then poisoning the wells one at a time with, I don't know, a bucket of battery acid. Like,
no, listen, Ahmed, it is so retarded they will never suspect.
I felt retarded with my own plan.
It is the worst tactical plan. They will never defend against the worst possible option. We will attack Georgia towns of population. I don't know what accent it is now, but it's clearly something different. But we will go after Georgia towns of population 10,000 or lower.
Tell me if I
We will steal their beans.
In fairness, if they did that, people would be fucking terrified. Like, if you're trying to scare a population, you go after a small town, because every small town will think that they're next.
Whatever happened to that arsenic or cyanide post office scare? Did they catch him? That guy just get away with that?
When was this that you're talking about?
Right after 9/11. The next thing that happened.
That was anthrax, and yeah, they caught that guy. That I want to say that guy was an Elvis impersonator.
Are you serious?
I want to know more about this.
See if I'm right. Here's your Google search. Here's your Google search. Elvis impersonator, anthrax, 9/11.
Hey, baby, I'm just trying to fucking murder someone at the post office.
He had a manifesto. It said, I'm doing this, 1, for the money, 2, for the show.
3 to get ready.
With me on this?
No, I get it. I'm there with you, Steve.
Go.
God damn it. That was way better than you gave it credit for.
I tried to help you out. It was way better.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So after the first earthquake that I went through with my ex in LA, and she had never been through one before. So she kind of freaked out, and she wanted us to have like an earthquake survival kit with us, like one at home and one in the car. Mm-hmm. And basically, the standard stuff of like, matches, a can opener, like just a couple things like that. Even that, I thought, this is a little much. She had buried beans over. Divorce. And we weren't dating. We were married. Divorced right then. She had buried 45 cans of beans, because that is such a detachment from reality. I get that every one of us was very scared the society was going to break down at the beginning of this virus. And people were, when you get to the grocery store and there's nothing on the shelves, that's a very scary thing to see. And I get that. The idea of if you're in it a couple of weeks and they've restocked by then, and you can suddenly order all the cans of beans you want on Amazon, that's when you maybe go get the shovel.
Yeah.
And unbury the beans.
Unearth
and be like,
your beans.
I overreacted.
Look, you don't ever bury the beans, because you've got
I guarantee that bitch forgot where she buried all the beans.
I think maybe
she did not make a map. 0%.